entropy, etc.
He says that a lot in these stories. Shut! That was last. No.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a little throwback
to a story that doesn't exist. This is the season 18 review. There was no Sharda in season 17.
But it does exist.
Does it though?
Yeah.
What is it?
In our hearts and memories.
Fair enough. Hi everybody, welcome back to Doctor Who Review. If you're wondering why you can't see us, it's just how we go. It's a video podcast, so deal with it. Something to listen to in the background.
And it's warm, so...
Yeah, imagine what we're doing, how you're viewing it. It's to be like sort of having a fish tank screensaver, but that fish tank is two people who talk about Doctor Who.
Oh, do you remember that fish tank screensaver on an old Windows?
You can still get them, on smart TVs and stuff. We don't know because we don't have a smart TV, so we don't...
Oh my god, we need to get a smart TV.
What, just to have a fish tank?
Oh my god, does it have the Halloweeny one? The house?
They're not the same as the old ones, but like when I stayed at my friend Chris's last year in Lincoln, his smart TV had screensavers and stuff.
No,
so.
That's adorable. I loved that house one. Just to see the cat run across the bottom of the screen.
So yeah, Doctor Who Season 18. My name is Chris.
I am not Chris.
We're going to talk about some stuff. This is recorded during the lockdown of the UK during the coronavirus pandemic in 2020.
What year is it of the lockdown?
No, just in case people after lockdown are watching this.
No, I'm saying. I meant to say what week is it, but it came out as what year is it?
Yeah,
How long have we been in lockdown?
Well, that's the thing. We have simultaneously, as a result, flown through Who at a rate of knots compared to our previous rate.
Yeah.
But we also have been very mindful to not just keep watching Doctor Who because, there's other stuff we want to watch. Or, like, as of this recording, we've got another episode of Rick and Morty and Harley Quinn to catch up on. So, there are things we were watching in real life. And we're also trying... But Doctor Who's been helping because we're trying to get a bit of less... We're trying to utilise escapism more so that we can watch the news less right now.
Yeah.
Because we're at that state in the lockdown of 2020. You know, our Lord. The first of the 20-year lockdown.
Oh.
We're in that period where like everything's depressing. Government officials are breaking lockdown rules. Presidents are fighting social media, and innocent African Americans are being murdered by policemen. It's a pretty horrible time.
And they seem to be getting off scot-free.
Yeah. So as of this recording. But it's the world's a bit shit right now. Doctor Who has been a saving grace. But it has taken us a bit longer to get through this series than the previous couple. Because someone here has been putting it off a little bit.
Have I?
Yeah,
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, just before we started recording, we had to reread the plot of the Leisure Hive online, just to recap. Because it feels like so long ago. And that's because we sort of watched this and this. Then we got into Full Circle, and we started to sort of dwindle a bit. And we started taking our time. And I figured out why the other night.
I've been busy.
That's not why.
I've had to go out and...
That's not why.
I can't use that excuse.
Yeah. Do you want to tell them why you've been a bit reluctant to finish this season of Doctor Who?
Look. It's a sensitive subject. And I just don't want to talk about it. Because I love Tom Baker. So, Patrick Troughton.
Lovely Paddy T.
Is my favourite. He's my favourite. I ain't gonna say that I'm never gonna say that he's not my favourite.
No.
I'm putting that down.
We've got more seasons to watch, so you never know.
That's a sentence that I don't want to go back on, but I'm just now realising maybe I will go back on.
You give him 10 Jamies out of 10.
Yes, absolutely.
You give him all the Jamies you never
I give him
won.
all the Jamies. And take all my Jamies. And then it was David Tennant. So it's Paddy, David Tennant, and then Christopher Eccleston.
Hey! Because he is the best.
And at first, at the beginning of Tom's era, I was like, whoa, he is mental. And also kind of mean. I'm not a fan of this Doctor.
It's in these last sort of... Well, it was when Hinchcliffe left and Graham Williams took over as producer, so it was the last season of Leela. And then this last season.
Yeah.
Although we did learn from behind the scenes as to why that might be. It's not just the right
he was getting meaner. He was starting to get nicer.
Yeah, it was like he got nice again. He got nice again when Romana slapped his wrist in Key of Time.
Yeah.
And then him and Romana too were having lovely old adventures in Series 17.
But that's because they were boning. La 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 la.
And during the production of this series, they were, as we saw from the documentary, they were having a lot of arguments and tiffs on set, and some days it would be difficult. And it makes you wonder, was the writing of the Doctor to be that kind of snappy with Romana and Adric, or was it just Tom being in a bit of a mood?
I can imagine it was really difficult to work with them if they'd had an argument. I mean, it looks like it was difficult to work with Tom Baker towards the end anyway.
Yeah, and he's very openly admitted that.
Didn't we?
Yeah, a documentary on the...
It's like,
a documentary on the Logopolis DVD called A New Body at Last, which sort of like is half an hour of, God, Tom was a nightmare. Yes, I was a bloody nightmare. And then, I'm Peter Davison, and I'm a bit terrified of this job I've taken on. Isn't this interesting?
Bye. But as the series were going on, I was like, I can't imagine anybody else being the Doctor from this point.
Even though we've zoomed through Tom since, I think it was last November we started. I think it was last November was when we posted his first season review, or maybe earlier this year. Basically, before I went to Panto, we'd got like a series and a bit of Tom in, I think.
Yes.
And then in this year, this 5 months, we've ploughed through the rest. That's 7 years of the programme.
Wow.
Including 2 versions of an
We've been in
unbroadcast
lockdown
story.
7 years.
No, but
feels longer.
Tom has been the Doctor the longest. Tom was the Doctor the longest, and still is.
Yeah.
And he's the Doctor we have. You know, we've not spent the longest with. Like we spent longer with Patrick technically, and longer with John, because we spread it out a little more.
Yeah.
Tom, we've flown through it, but we've flown through a lot of content.
Yeah.
In a short amount of time, and he's, you know. I mean, visually, you can distinguish how far time has gone. Do you remember when his costume was just a red jacket with a waistcoat and a scarf wrapped tight around his neck and a bloody, like, you know, wide-brimmed hat, and grey trousers and little boots, little shoes?
Yeah.
Yeah. The hell does he look like now? He's on his, like, 78th costume.
He's still technically in a red coat with a waistcoat. Oh, no, he's not got a waistcoat.
He has got a waistcoat.
Has he?
Yeah, he's got that one that's got the really weird sort of, like, almost reflective pattern on the front.
Oh, and he's still got boots on, so technically...
He's got a massive collar.
He's still in the same
with
outfit.
question marks, which he hated. But we'll get to that. So this is the.
So anyway, yeah. So now it goes: Paddy, Tom, David, Christopher.
Who after Chris Eccleston?
I don't know.
Jodie?
Not made my mind up.
Jodie's been one of the few who you've fallen out of love with the programme in recent years, but every time you've watched series 11 or 12, you've gone, oh, she's adorable.
See, I love Peter Capaldi. Oh my god, the thick of it is something else. It's just so high above other comedies. It's just in a league of its own. But Peter Capaldi as the Doctor just didn't work for me, and I hate Clara.
It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see, knowing what you know of it and what you're to be braced for, what positives you pull out of it when we get to his era.
I didn't watch a lot of it because I just got to the point where I was like,
true,
no,
yeah.
I don't want to watch Clara anymore. I can't stand her, so I'm leaving.
But Tom's rocketed to second place.
Yeah. Because he was just wonderful.
Well, let's sign him off, shall we? This is John Nathan Turner's first series as producer. You can feel the effects starting to kick in of it's a bit more glamorous, it's a bit more showy.
It's less gothic-y kind of...
Oh, the goth stuff that Graham Williams kind of started to flatten out as not completely goth. Oh, there's one story in this that indulges in it.
Yeah.
But the interesting castings, and there's a bit of sort of celebrity casting in this series in terms of bringing back a cast alumni that obviously they wanted to make headlines with and be like, Jacqueline Hill returns to Doctor Who. That's a thing that you'll notice going forward, more so in the 6th and 7th Doctor's eras. John Nathan Turner's very big on casting celebs in the show.
That carries on, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing that carries on, but it usually carries on in a way where the character is cast correctly. Like,
Bill Bailey was wasted.
Bill Bailey was completely wasted, but like Kylie Minogue as Astrid, great use of Kylie Minogue, for example. Astrid is wonderful, and when we get to Voyage of the Damned, you will reassess it.
She's so tiny!
I know for a fact when we get to Voyage of the Damned, you'll come out and go, do you know what? That is actually way better than I remember it being. Because every time I've revisited that, I've gone, holy crap, this is brilliant. I remember a broadcast going, that was a bit daft, and moving on with my life.
I just can't imagine people getting on a ship with those gold angel things on there. How could you do that?
You've seen Robots of Death. You've seen people getting on ships with, like, ornate, decorated robots that look like something from Earth's
Why would you ever do that? If I walked onto a cruise ship and saw them, I'd walk back out. Like, no, not dealing with that in the middle of the ocean.
Not
in the middle of space.
Middle of space, yeah. The Leisure Hive.
That's just me.
Speaking of leisure activity locations and places for people to Leisure Hive. So we're in. Oh God. So we are in an Argolan station. The Argolans look after the Leisure Hive. They run it. They're a race that are lost horribly in a war, and there's like next to none of them left. And their lives are dwindling quite rapidly. Like the head one, he passes away, and you see the alien physiology of these guys is really cool. Like it's these sort of horns in the tops of their heads.
Yeah,
and they have like shells attached to them, and the shells just sort of drop off.
Yeah,
the closer
it's a
they get to
little
death.
bit gross.
Well, it wasn't like throbbing or anything. It wasn't
Don't
like
say throbbing.
it wasn't dripping
Like
from the top of it. It was just like a shell falling off of it. It's like a magnet falling off a fridge. It wasn't that gross.
No, it just kind of all it needed was a, and that would have just been like, I'm out.
Really?
Gross.
What about as it dropped to the desk?
I don't know if that's worse.
Good God.
Is that worse?
Okay, so a new head comes in. She's like in charge and trying to lead everybody, but you know they're dwindling, and it's this thing where they believe that a criminal organisation called the Formasi, these reptilian creatures, are coming in that beat the Argolans once upon a time in a war. It believes they're coming in to muscle on their territory and destroy their ecosystem and their ecology.
I imagined it kind of in a it's like Butlins kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes, it's Space Butlins.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Space Butlins is based on science and progression. So it's like, it's Epcot. It's Space Epcot.
No.
Like,
this is like...
You know the bit when you get out of the ride at Epcot, like, oh, Spaceship Earth, and you just did a place with monitors and you could, like, read up about recycling and you know, chlorophyll and how the water systems work within rivers. And, you know what I mean? That's Epcot. You got Spaceship Earth, you're like, that was kind of cool. Oh, I'm now in an early learning centre. This is weird. This is an early learning centre as a relaxation place.
I feel like because they were talking about how their Leisure Hive is quite far behind. It's kind of outdated now, and there's another place that is more interesting.
Well,
and they've got better experiments and equipment. So I imagine this is Butlins, and the other thing is Epcot. That's what I imagine it as.
Okay, fair enough. And the belief is that the Formasi are coming to steal this from the Earth organisations that work with the Argolans. But not so, as we discover throughout the story. It's actually specifically sort of the aggressive and defensive Argolan Pangol, played by David Haig, who when you were like, I recognise him, and you Googled him, and immediately we were both just like, hoity-toity, la-di-da, stick it up your arse, because it's you know, we mostly know him from the Thin Blue Line.
Oh my God!
He's really good in this.
He's really good at it.
He's really good.
He's eating that scenery.
He's devouring
like
it.
he's not eaten for years.
Because it turns out he's the surprise villain. He is a clone of the original Argolin model. Like they can't reproduce. He's the first of a new generation, and he's going to basically. There's already some there, but he's like the best one.
Yeah.
And he's going to clone himself, and essentially he believes that the Formasi are going to destroy their race.
Yeah, because
and Earth are taking advantage of them. Like these are the police systems taking advantage. So he's like, I'm going to clone myself, create an army of the absolute perfect bloody warriors, and defend ourselves.
Because in like the past times that you know the battles that have happened, they've become like sterile almost.
Yeah, like the warfare, the radiation.
Yeah,
so they weren't able to.
And that's why they age so quickly. As well.
And in this instance, turns out he's reactionary. Like it's been generations since that time, and the Formasi are peaceful. Like there are some extremists who are trying to incite war. As we find out, one's disguised as one of the Earth representatives and has been the whole time.
Oh my goodness.
And there are ones that come along. There's one that we think that there's definitely influence from Alien in this because the way they shoot the Formasi in the first 2 episodes that's sneaking around that we then learn later is actually on reconnaissance to stop the Rogue One. It's shot like Alien. It's really vague. You never properly see it.
Yeah.
It's you know the tip of a claw or like you just sort of see a sliver of its face in the darkness between doorways and it's like this is great. And then you see it full on. Then you see it full on and it's sort of like Mr. Blobby covered in green jelly. But there's only a brief amount of time where you're like, well, this is kind of hilarious, before it does something really cool. Because they can't speak English or, you know, Argolin. But the one that was disguised as one could because he had like a translator.
Yeah.
So the one that like unveils him takes the translator, puts it on, and suddenly this big lumbering lizard thing's going like, I'm terribly sorry about that. I'm speaking to you using the voice modulator. Now, just so you know, he was a sleeper agent to be put here by this. You're like, this is brilliant. Like, this is so good. And he's basically they realise that Pangol is going to start an unnecessary conflict.
Yeah.
and he clones himself in a sequence that was kind of ingeniously, low budget, but also ingeniously simple. But also,
you got distracted by the
hilarious.
dog.
I dig. She's cute. So it's the basic premise. Where the Doctor and Romana come into this, they arrive. They notice stuff's a bit wibbly, and then immediately are brought into suspicion that they've been tampering with the technology because somebody steps into it and is ripped apart, basically.
Because they were essentially like looking for a holiday, weren't they? Really?
Yeah. And because it starts them on the beach with 27 minutes, or at least it feels like it, of just the camera slowly panning across like lodges on the beach till eventually revealing the Doctor sat in a chair asleep. What an action-packed reveal. Also, we've got John Leeson back as K9. Hooray! What did they do with him in the first episode? Blow him up in the sea, and then he's out of commission for the whole bloody thing.
Oh, do you know what? I've never felt so scared in my life.
With K9 exploding.
So sad.
But yeah, and they get roped into it. The Doctor goes into the machine to prove X, Y, and Z, and we realise later Pangol tampered with it, and he comes out accelerated in age by about 1,000 years, giving Tom Baker an excuse to whack on some old age makeup that looks pretty damn good.
It did look good.
It looks really, really good, but it's odd that in the first story with this sort of very distinct new outfit, he's also got a very distinct transformation in the episode as well. It's sort of it's a bit weird. The timing just seems odd.
Yeah.
But I think we're thinking of that from a modern TV branding thing. In the first episode, you either give us a post-regeneration or one-off outfit, or the new look. Yeah. That's what you give.
Yeah.
Jodie running around in Capaldi's clothes, or the next year, for most of it, Jodie running around in a James Bond version of her outfit. You have a...
Yeah.
This is the season opener look.
Yeah.
And in this it was, this is the season opener look. And he's old now! I really liked this.
I liked it.
I had never seen this one before. And
really?
this was new. Do you remember there's a couple in this where we had to take the wrapper off? The first two.
Yeah,
and I was blown away by this. Mostly the look of it.
Yeah, I think they really nailed that look for the aliens.
But also the single camera. There's so much single camera use in this. Must have been pretty expensive because they're not doing that. There's not many multiple camera setups in this one, so they're not just right, we've got camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, fantastic, right, and you guys go and we'll direct from the gallery. No, it's just there's one camera shooting it, making its way through tunnels and archways. It's just this looks really cool.
Yeah.
A really strong start to series.
It was
18.
Much better than last season.
Yeah. Hot Destiny of the Daleks. Oh dear. Now, this is the other story I hadn't seen. Meglos. What do you remember of Meglos, Boo? Do you remember the plot?
Oh God. Yeah, I do. They received. Oh no! Why did they go there in the first place? I've forgotten why they end up there. Anyway, the Doctor. I know I can't know. You explain.
I can't possibly remember.
It's too complicated.
I was so bored for the majority of this. So the planet is Zolfa Thora, a desert world devoid seemingly of life structures. Okay, and then there's Tygella, a jungle world inhabited by humanoid white-haired Tygellans. So on Zolfa Thora, there's a bunch of pirates who find this ship, and there's something they're in after that's in there. It's this sort of base, and they go in. And they are propositioned, don't say anything yet, but they are propositioned by an alien life form who's give me a vessel, I will use it, we will get into the Tygellan society, and we will take the dodecahedron, which is the source of their power, which is a religion based around them called the Daons, led by Lexa, played by Jacqueline Hill, returning to the show!
Hey.
Nice to see her.
Such a shame it was in a poop
Yeah,
story.
such a shame it was in Meglos, but it was nice to see her. Lovely Barbara. So there's them, and then there's the savants, who are the scientists of the race. So essentially they're two things. They're scientists and religious people, and they do their thing, and their whole world is powered by the dodecahedron. And these piratey guys team up with Meglos to take it from them because Meglos has wanted it for forever.
Yeah.
They somehow, there's hints that on this world, or through their tech, they get hold of things and people from other worlds and time zones to F with. So they've got this Earthling, who is literally just credited as Earthling. And the guy acts his balls off.
He does.
And he's just credited as Earthling.
They've taken him from an accountant.
Yes! He looks like he's been plucked from a Python sketch.
He does.
It's really weird.
An accountant on his brain.
He's played by Christopher Owen, Give him his bloody due. And he's
Well done, sir.
he's brought in, and the proposition by Meglos, so basically Meglos is like, right, you're going to merge with me. I'm going to merge with him. I'm going to pilot him around. I'm going to get done what I need to get done.
Yeah.
I know that this society is in help. They're in need of help, and they've called upon the Doctor, because apparently the Savants have met the Doctor before.
Yeah.
So they call upon his help. Meglos knows this. So Meglos assumes, like, pilot, essentially, the body of the human,
Yeah.
and then uses the human as a template and transforms to look like the Doctor. Mm-hmm. So Meglos gets in there first and F's shit up.
Yeah.
The Doctor and Romana arrive on the distress call after Meglos has already arrived.
Yeah.
Thus begins classic evil doppelganger. I mean, we have a doppelganger in a story of mistaken identity. The Doctor being put on trial, nearly sentenced to death. Romana getting, I guess, sort of getting waylaid by the pirates and K9, getting involved a bit, and it's just. This was boring.
It was boring.
I was really bored by this. There are great ideas in it. The bit where Meglos reveals himself to the young member of the security, I can't remember her name now. She was great.
Yeah.
She didn't get enough screen time.
She was like part of the science.
Yeah. When Meglos revealed who he was to her, just was flat out like, yeah, I'm not the Doctor. I'm going to kill you all and you're going to help me. Just like, get the hell away from me. And he basically just helps her, uses her to manoeuvre out of there and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it was great. It was like, oh wow, like, he's been uncovered and he's like, I don't care. The idea of a duplicate of the Doctor sort of fighting with the person inside him trying to stop him.
Yeah, that looked cool.
Is cool, where they're like separating. The idea of the duplicate of the Doctor deteriorating so that we see the Doctor in a deteriorative state is a great idea. And the inevitable, they don't even get a face-off, but the inevitable confrontation between the two of them in the final part is quite nice, where they're both locked in the cell together.
Yeah.
And they're just hashing it out.
And it was kind of one of those, which one's the real one? Kind of thing.
The two main problems with this story, as far as I'm concerned, are thus. One, we've had so many situations of, you've been up to something, you're going to go in a cell now. We've had so many of them now that whenever that's the story point, I check out.
Yeah.
I'm so bored of it.
Yeah.
If it was rare, fair enough, but it was such a big staple of Hartnell's era, such a big staple of Paddy's. John's era comes along and we can see what the technology can do for the show now and the sort of adventures we can have.
Yeah.
So when it happened in John's era, it was quite rare, but, didn't feel boring.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of it in Tom's era.
So much.
So much just, get in that cell.
You're automatically guilty.
And it's probably to give our leads some time off, but you can just do that by fleshing out the worlds. There's some great examples in this of us starting stories with the setting and with the characters already there, and then the Doctor and Romana show up. Mm-hmm. Do that to give your lead actors a bit of time off.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, the other biggest letdown was... Go.
The villain is a cactus.
Yep.
At one point, I think it was towards the end, I just burst out laughing.
It was when it leaves the Earthling and it tries to get back to its cryo chamber to survive.
It's just crawling across the floor. It's a cactus that talks.
Yep.
That is pretty much what it, and as soon as it dawned on me how stupid it was, I just burst out laughing. I couldn't cope with it.
So
the villain
funny.
was a friggin' cactus.
I don't think it hit you as badly at the beginning, because it kind of made sense at the beginning. You saw it in the machine. It was ready for transmuting. It was talking clearly through the speakers. It sounds like it's talking through the speakers in the ship. And it's taking advantage of a bunch of opportunistic and not that bright space pirates.
Yeah.
So you're like, this guy's proving that he can be their leader. They think they're going to betray him. He outsmarts them immediately to prove that you're not going to F with me. And they're like, oh, okay. We better listen to it. And it kind of works. It's sort of like, oh my god, what's he called? Oh god, there's some Mr. Mind, or whatever he's called. It's a DC villain who's this little bug with a collar on. It's like a little caterpillar.
Oh, like
and it's one of the deadliest strategists, scientists, and supervillains in all of DC.
Isn't that who it's referenced to be at the end of?
We see him at the end. Oh, one in case of people. Watch Shazam. You'll see a reference to it.
Oh, Shazam, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what it felt like to me at the beginning. It's this thing that isn't physically capable of doing the stuff, but it's a master manipulator.
Yeah. And
lesser villains kind of see that and they're like, right, we could do with it. We'll go along with this thing and we're going to profit from it. Let's do it.
Makes me think of that thing from SpongeBob SquarePants.
Plankton.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
I don't know. I don't watch it.
Is his name Plankton?
He's the one who sounds like this.
Yeah, that's what I picture. Or the worm from Labyrinth.
Well, he's not evil though. He's just a bit.
No,
of a
like
dick.
the image of it. I mean, that's what I mean.
Come
Even
inside,
though
rate the missus.
he's super adorable.
But yeah, I think I don't know about you, but in that scene, it didn't make me laugh too much. I was like, oh, it's a cactus, and then I moved on. It was when it was wiggling on the floor.
I think watching Doctor Who, you've got to have a bit of an open mind.
Suspension of disbelief.
And accept what's happening just for what it is.
And then occasionally.
so when it was the cactus, I was like, okay, I don't know where this story's going. Let's just see what happens. So even then, I was like, what? What is our cactus going to start talking to us? Is our cactus a megalomaniac? I don't know.
Has it been sat on the kitchen window ledge plotting
with
this
a
whole
cow
time?
on it, going, I hate everything.
We have a small cactus on the kitchen window ledge with a woolly bully ornament stuck in the middle of the cactus. So.
Anyway,
just to clarify, because people will be like, "The hell is she talking?"
we live in a zoo, so I wish we did have a woolly bully. That'd be cute.
Meglos!
Wouldn't need a llama.
Meglos! Pasha's the washing up liquid, mate. I'm doing the dishes.
So I kind of, but then when it started getting obvious that this was really boring, and I'm checking out. I'm checking out. Sorry, I had that in my head. I had a chance to get it out. It dawned on me that no, it's not. It's not clever. It's not big. And it's not clever. So it's just ridiculous, and that's why I thought it was funny. But having said that, though, when Meglos was starting to turn back into his old kind of thing, because he's only able to be the Doctor for a certain time limit, isn't he? Because that was the thing, he had to get back to the ship quickly.
Because he started looking like this!
He started turning into himself again. I thought that makeup was quite good.
Yeah, it looked good. It was definitely better than the Ark in Space bubble wrap.
Thing is, though,
several years prior.
The cover of that is more interesting than the actual story.
Yeah. Jacqueline Hill was having fun, but ultimately kind of a waste of Jacqueline Hill,
yeah,
really.
It was.
Now we come full circle. The Doctor and Romana have to go back to Gallifrey. Romana doesn't want to, because it turns out that the Gallifreyans want them back because they want Romana returned to the High Council of the Time Lords. Technically, they've been on the run since the end of... the TARDIS has been on a randomizer since the end of the Key to Time story to avoid the Black Guardian.
Yeah.
At the start of this series, when he wants to go on holiday, he's like, oh, sod it, and he breaks the randomizer. He's like, I'm sick of running, let's go. But of course, now they're off the randomizer, the Gallifreyans, the Time Lords, are like, right, there they are. We need you to come back. And Romana doesn't want to go back. But she doesn't have to, because as soon as they arrive in Gallifrey, they realise Gallifrey is not outside. Apparently it is. They're in the right coordinates, but it ain't there. The TARDIS has somehow shifted into an other realm, a negative, sort of out of sync with our own universe, known as E-Space. So basically, we're getting, I think, if I remember correctly, our second alternate universe storyline. Because the third Doctor, Inferno, we had the one with the volcanic experiments and the mirror universe, basically.
Oh, yeah, the mirror world.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Because Doctor Who does not do alternate universes. This isn't an alternate universe per se, it's an adjacent universe to our own.
Yeah, that you get stuck in.
Yeah, and it looks like they're not going to be able to get out, but they head to the planet Alzarius, where you've got people of a certain stature living in... living basically in a giant ship that, was a giant ship. The people of that ship who constantly repair, like everyone has been brought up to be either like a computer genius, a mechanical genius, a mathematical genius, so that they can essentially repair the ship, because it's foretold that they're going to eventually, obviously, get the hell off of this planet.
Yeah.
A planet where regularly the mist descends over every now and again, and marshmen come out of the marshes and apparently kill people. So it's like, right, we have to repair, and then we'll bugger off onto the ship and we leave the planet.
Yeah.
Eventually. There's also a big group of like teenage rebels who've gone, yeah, screw this. Including Adric, who is quite a well respected child of all the kids who've learned stuff in the ship.
Yeah.
He's got a badge for mathematical excellence. He's obviously good.
Bless him.
This is about his numbers and computer programming. Like he's a genius. He's a boy genius.
Yeah.
But his brother's in this group of rebels. His brother's like, yeah, no, I don't want to hear from you. He's like, look, I want to join you guys. This is ridiculous.
Like, no, you're too smart.
Yeah. So he has to sort of do something to prove himself, but it results in like one of his superiors dying, a new one being elected, a fella who's the father of one of the girls who's in the rebel group, and he has to basically join that and forsake her safety and prove that he's loyal to just like leading everything. So there's some nice kind of dramatic stuff here, as in like, you know, what is better, looking for the fate of our people or looking out for our family and friends.
Yeah.
So there's some good dichotomy here. The Marshmen are a great design.
Yeah,
they
they
look
look
so good.
They look like they've just come out of the
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
From the Black Lagoon.
The marsh spiders
Can't get my words out.
in design look really cool. These deadly insects. They look great. In movement, not so much, but they look great.
Yeah.
Like with their sort of glowing orange carapaces and everything. It's like they're proper freaky looking thingies. So the Doctor and Romana like go to this planet because it's there where Gallifrey should be.
Yeah, they open the door. They see something on the screen which shows Gallifrey.
Yeah.
And they go outside and they're like,
What?
what? Where are we?
What the deuce? Thus begins a story of intrigue as the Doctor is pulled into the mystery of the Marshmen. One of the a younger Marshman sort of befriends him as it gets into the ship, and then the people in charge capture it, and the scientist wants to experiment on it, and the Doctor notices there's like little hostility in it, even though it's a young one. It appears to be not remotely hostile. It's panicking.
Yeah.
And he starts to wonder whether or not all the Marshmen are like this. Meanwhile, Romana is abandoned and bitten by one of the marsh spiders.
Yeah, it's quite creepy, that.
And one of the Marshmen, in retaliation, bludgeons K9's head off.
Oh my god!
And then the Doctor finds it later when he sort of like approaches a Marshman and he's got like a club and K9's head is on the end of it.
That's so morbid.
And he just sort of takes the head off and uses it to kind of scare them.
Yeah.
By pretending it's like his face or whatever. And there's some great ideas in this, and you realise that the Marshmen they're not bad. They're just terrified.
Yeah.
Um,
I've got to say, K9 gets a serious beating in this series.
You get the sense that they were kind of going, we know he's not going to be in it much longer. We hate this prop. Let's beat it up. It's like, no! But it's the rule of Scarface from Batman. In any animated adaptation of Batman, if they've got the ventriloquist and Scarface in it, they always give Scarface really horrific deaths because he's a puppet and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing here. They're like, we have to show that our characters are in danger, but we don't want to hurt them like too bad. But K9 can be put back together again and repaired. So sod it, let's hurt K9.
So many times.
So there's some great stuff there, and then basically you start to learn that after Romana's been bitten by the marsh spider, she's sort of possessed, and she's acting on their behalf and doing all this stuff that essentially leads to them realising that the Marshmen have been persecuted for so long. They are also like the eventual evolution of the species.
Yeah. Because
Like they're all related. They're all genetically the same.
It turns out that there's been generations of these people trying to get this ship going.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's like, what the hell? Why is it taking you so long?
Mm. And not only that, the spiders are just the leftover remnants of the original like genus. So all these people on the ship started out like the way we all started out as apes. Millions of years ago, they were these spiders, and they've evolved into these humanoid life forms. Like they've evolved into like the Marshmen, then the Marshmen eventually become this colony. But this colony is treating the remaining Marshmen, where evolution hasn't accelerated, as like these beasts, and they're smacking them away, and they don't even realise that, they're
them.
They're them. Like, so you've got all that stuff. All that stuff is great. Adric's brother dies, like, amidst it all, and that's kind of like, oh, that's sad, because Adric's pretty spunky in this, isn't he? And I mean that in the non-gross sense of the word. Like, he's your plucky sidekick kind of character.
Yeah.
And he works really well. Matthew Waterhouse has a really nice introduction. It's like, wow, you know what, you're a cocky little shit. I like it. You can stick around, even if you are in weird pyjamas.
Yeah, weird pyjamas.
Yeah, all in all, this one is fine.
It's fine.
The coolest part is the twist, where you realise that the documents of old, all this, that, and the other, that the three leaders like cherish. Yeah. The Doctor looks over it and is like, these are literally instructions for the ship, like to repair it. You could leave any time you like. Yeah. You're just getting, for the last like several hundred generations, these people have just been rebuilding and replacing parts over and over again. You're telling them it's so that eventually there will be salvation, but they could go now. Like you could all leave now, and you realise they can't leave because none of them are pilots.
Yep.
Not a single one of them knows how to pilot it or translate the information on how to pilot it.
Which makes the ending quite funny. I quite like the end where the Doctor sets them off, and then he's like, "See ya,"
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we don't know what we're doing.
And he's
and
like,
there's just
figure
the
it out,
two of them, isn't
you
there?
dickhead.
And they're
Yeah.
just like, right, get the book, let's see what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's quite
It's
funny.
like, figure out, you dickhead. Because it means the person in charge, everyone who's been the head guy in charge all these generations.
What do they call them?
Oh god, it's literally some like elder or leader or something.
Decider or something like that.
That's it, deciders. Yes, the deciders.
Wow, I remembered something.
So it's not bad.
It's okay, it's fine.
But it starts this mini trilogy, which leads us into State of Decay, State of Decay, State of Decay, State of Decay, a return to gothic horror, kind of.
Hooray!
This is basically the same plot as Full Circle in terms of the spaceship element, but more interesting.
Yeah.
And with a scarier villain.
Yeah.
Adric's stowed away on the TARDIS, which the Doctor and Romana don't realise till later in the story.
Yeah.
Because
he's kind of got nothing to. His
brother's
to
gone.
There.
His people are buggered, and he's seen. Wait, these two are like travelling everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I can actually do stuff. So they
with
arrive.
his special belt from his brother, which is kind of like, what?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a symbolic. It's a symbolic thing, I guess. But they arrive on a planet with a feudal society. It's not named in the story, I don't believe. But they arrive there and they get there, and it's just, literally it's nothing else on the planet but this small village and a giant bloody tower in the middle of it. And in the tower are the leaders, Zargo, Carmilla, and Orcon. And there are people who work for them as security, and they apparently bring prosperity and safety to the village down below.
They protect them from...
castle... from... What do they call it? I don't think they do protect them from anything specifically.
They protect them from the Great One or something, isn't it? Or something.
No, that's later. I can't remember what the hell they call it. I don't think there is a name for it, actually. But, essentially, giant looming castle, middle of nowhere, people in it have servants, occasionally they select someone to be chosen and go to be the castle, and we never hear from them again. Everyone down below is, like, subservient to them, like, they're great, they look after us, they keep us safe, but no one can say why.
Yeah.
There's a small band of people within the town who are like, no, there's something going on here, there is something happening. And it's a village that's sort of kept in a state of non-development and submissiveness and reliance on the castle. And everyone and their mother watching it is going, Dracula! Like it's Transylvania.
Yeah.
In the works of Bram Stoker and his contemporaries, and it's like, okay, that's where we're going, and we meet them, and it's like, yeah, these guys are vampires. Like, look at them, just look at them. The eye makeup, the costumes in this are brilliant,
amazing.
I think probably tied second place with Leisure Hive for the most interesting look in the series. That I think we've yet to get to the one with the best costumes, but it's cool. And the Doctor and Romana are there. They never outright go as vampires, but obviously as it goes on,
they kind of do.
No, not at first. As it goes on, they get to that point where it's like vampire culture. It's the whole thing of
oh god, it's vampires.
Every developed culture has a mythology based around what Earth calls vampires.
Yeah,
and you're like, huh? Is this like a Sutek thing? Is this the idea of like there is something that people base things on, something that later, of course, they do in Impossible Planet, Satan Pit? Like, is there something where initially there was this thing, and the myths of it have just lasted, even though not remembered exactly, and every planet, every civilized society has got a version of it.
Yeah.
And in this case, vampires.
What? Oh, vampires.
Turns out that their castle is actually the spaceship Hydrax that crashed into space.
Why do they need to put an X on everything?
Yeah.
Is it more spacey? Is it more sci-fi?
I don't know. But it crashed into space. Like I think they put the time frame as like a few hundred years. Like it's not been long for them. But the Doctor manages to connect the dots. So in the ancient times, the like start of Razilon's rule over the Time Lords, in the far ancient times of the Time Lords, there was a war with these creatures that basically left worlds to rot. Like a state of decay, if you were.
Nice.
And it took like everything they had to defeat them and get rid of them. And Razilon banished the main culprit, the one that was kept alive. So vampire rules once again of like there's one, and then you get rid of that, and everything else is fine. The one that's left alive was banished to another universe. But it turns out it's E-space, from N-space to E-space. And the Great One, the thing that they're getting these sacrifices for, preparing for this ritual, that Orcon in particular is the one preparing for it, is the Great One. So basically, there's a giant space vampire inside this planetoid.
Yeah.
And a ritual is going to bring it about soon. So the Doctor and Romana are like, yeah, we need to stop this then. Because the Time Lords can barely keep these things at bay in the past. Imagine if it comes back now stronger than ever and it breaks through into our universe. Or even E-space. Like, it could destroy the life in this universe.
But what's cool, what I thought was really cool was how they figured it out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they had a scanner, but that was later on, wasn't it? But they were in...
Well, the people that were in rebellion had managed to find tech in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And they couldn't understand it. And the Doctor goes through it, and there's a log of the crew.
Yeah.
And you realise that, oh, these three might be the descendants of this crew. Then later on in the story, the Doctor's like,
nope,
nah, mate,
it's that crew.
This is them.
Yeah.
Like, the Great One has imbued them essentially with like the vampiric property of eternal life.
Yeah. They
drink blood to stay alive. So they're not like, traditional vampires, but they basically are. They're like if Renfield knew what he was doing and also had to drink blood.
Well, they're space vampires.
Spampires.
No, that doesn't sound as good. But they're
the Great Ones.
The Doctor and Romana were like, right, we need to make it to this ship.
Yeah.
And stop what they're doing. And they get there to the top, don't they? And they realise that they can hear something, and they think maybe it's like the hum of the engine of this ship or something. And it turns out it's the heartbeat of this thing.
Yeah. It's that vast.
Yeah. And that is kind of like a realisation of, holy crap, this thing is massive.
Essentially, the ending to it is like Lovecraftian mythology meets the final shot of Cabin in the Woods. Because the solution in the end is so simple, but brilliant.
Yeah.
Because this is one of those instances where the Doctor's like, yeah, we can't leave it imprisoned, like, it's going to get out. We have to destroy it.
Yeah.
We have to. Or millions of lives are, like, immediately forfeit.
Yeah.
So they steer the ship into the atmosphere, turn it round, and shut it off so that it nosedives at it. So this castle, this pointy castle, is shot into the sky, turned off so that it will nosedive directly down towards the giant creature that is starting to emerge from the core of the planet.
You see a hand come up and it's
you see a goddamn... And a shot that looks really good. A goddamn hand breaking through the floor of the surface of the planet.
Yeah.
So basically, they use a spaceship to stake a giant vampire.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty metal.
It was pretty cool.
I really like State of Decay.
I loved this one. I thought it was really good.
Adric is essentially designated the damsel in distress role. But it works, because he's sort of, in this story, by the end of it, he realises, oh yeah, this is kind of dangerous. But he still sticks with them and, like, helps out. So you know that he's like, I'll handle it, it's fine. It's a sort of way of setting up that he's not just an idiotic child, because he's not an idiot. He's not just naive. He's like, yeah, I'm a bit over my head, but now I know to be more on it.
Smart.
Now I know to stick with the Doctor and not be a little stowaway.
He does sell out Romana though.
Does he? Which bit?
Yeah, when she says that like he can either go and be a prisoner with Romana, or you can come and be our chosen one. And he was like, sorry Romana, see you.
Yeah, but doesn't he do it to delay something?
I feel like he says that he was doing it to protect her.
Oh, yeah.
But then I was like, it doesn't really seem like that. It seems like you just kind of felt special, so just went to...
So what do you think of Adric so far?
I'm not blown away.
Okay.
I feel like he isn't really necessary right now.
Okay. As of this story, or as of the end of the season?
As of this story.
Okay. Well, he becomes functionally necessary to the programme with the formula. Because 1 in, 2 out. Warrior's Gate. The Doctor and Romana are like, we need to get out of E-space. We found this sort of nexus point. There's an energy here. It's going to help us get out, but we don't know where it is or how to harness it. Meanwhile, there's a ship here that has been trying to get out of E-space for a long time. a ship run by... Is it Packard?
Big nasty man.
Basically, yeah, there's a crew, and it begins as Alien, kind of.
Yeah.
The opening shot of this is beautiful.
It is.
And it's just this slow, creeping shot going through every main part of their ship.
Like first person kind of thing.
And it's intriguing. She's like, who are all those people laid down? They kind of look like lions. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh god, this ship is like dark, and it looks like they're on low power to conserve energy, and this crew member's just sort of hanging around. This guy's placing rudimentary, pointless bets just to pass the time. Like, what he's got, and there's a captain who's the only one who's furiously still forcing everyone to do stuff. You realise it's because they're so close, they want to get out, and the rest of them have kind of given up hope, and he's not. But his methods become a lot more psychotic and violent as time goes on.
Yeah.
To the point where we realise that the whole thing they're doing is sort of shitty anyway, because they're lion people, including, I think it's Rorvik is the main one?
It's Lionel.
Lionel! Oh no, the captain,
it's
the
Mr.
captain,
Mistopheles.
the captain's Rorvik, sorry.
How funny would it be if the cat was called Rory? Rory.
So,
In case you didn't
they've got basically a stock of these species called the Tharils, who are time sensitive.
Yeah.
Like their whole species, rather like Time Lords, are time sensitive, and this ship and presumably other expeditions have been kidnapping and using them as batteries to help navigate through time.
Through time, yeah.
And that's how they ended up in E-space, because it's gone wrong.
It's cruel because they literally like tie them into this chair
And use them as
like
a
kind
component.
of plug them in.
They use them as a component until they inevitably die, and then they wheel another one out of stasis, and they do the same. And it's bloody horrible.
Animal cruelty.
And Birok, who is the one who's their current navigator, manages to escape, appear 1 second out of time so that time-sensitive people can see him. So he goes, he knows the TARDIS is there, he walks into the TARDIS, which is a great shot.
Yeah.
Like, essentially recruits the Dr. Romana and Adric to investigate, and then leaves. And then this other location that he's pictured appears in the void. It's this castle. As we learn later, it's a castle, it's a location from the Tharils' like homeworld or existence or whatever. Yeah. And he gets the Doctor to go on some merry old sort of Christmas Carol style flashbacks where he's like, here's what this is about, and here's where we're from, and here's what we do. And you realise that though the Tharils are obviously being treated horribly by this crew, they're not a nice race either.
They're not shiny.
Like some of them are looking for a nobler way of life. But a lot of them are like, no, we take what we want. The universe is our playground. The way they use their time sensitivity is they just pluck shit that they want from the universe and keep it. Yeah. Including, like, slaves and riches. And you're like, oh, not all of them are bad, as we learn. There's one that is much nicer, mostly because Romana helps rescue him. Because the ship realises that it needs to lose some weight, like lose some stock, cargo, to be able to manoeuvre through certain exercises to try and get out of E-space.
Yeah.
So the removal of cargo is left up to these two co-workers who are sort of comic relief, but also kind of pointless after a point, to basically wheel some of them out of status and electrocute them to death so they can then dispose of the body.
Lovely.
Great! There's some really great, dark, horrible sci-fi ideas in here that could explore morality and compassion. It just sort of lumbers a bit from the middle onwards.
I've got to say,
there's some really great stuff in it, like the mirrored gateway, like that only time sensitives can pass through at certain times. Yeah. K9 getting damaged in a way where his battery won't be restored, but if he goes through the mirrored gateway, it'll be restored, but he won't be able to return.
To come back, yeah.
Clearly sowing the seeds of this is K9's last story, because he's either going to die or he's going to go into the mirror universe and live, but not come back. So it's really setting stuff up.
I like when they go to this place that is from the cat people's past.
Yeah. And
it's this medieval castle with these kind of... at the beginning we think they're kind of like guardians, don't we?
The Gundams.
Yeah, and they look awesome.
They're cool.
They look really cool.
And we think that they're just guardians of this little thing, and then we realise, nope, these are robots that were created by the slaves, basically, of the Tharils to rebel against them in the past. This was the incident that broke up their power structure and allowed societies to get hold of them and use them. Yeah. And the Gundams that stick around, the Doctor hacks one of them, and it's really cool.
And it's like getting answers from them, yeah.
It's really, really
it does
cool.
Look cool.
But it just sort of, the problem is it just kind of lumbers. You feel like it could have done everything in 2 parts.
Yeah, I kind of switched off in this one.
And then it fast forwards at the end. Because as set up 3 stories ago and reinforced 2 stories ago, Romana does not want to go back to Gallifrey.
Yeah.
She has a great scene, Lala Ward has a great scene a couple of stories ago. She's like, after everything I've seen and done, I don't want to go back. They're just going to make me stay there. Like, you're not worried that they're going to do that to you. And he's like, they gave up on me a long time ago. Like, don't worry about me. They're going to want me to drop you off and then they're going to tell me to jog on. And she's
they're going
like,
to pay me to not be on Gallifrey.
So you start to realise the reason she didn't want the randomizer destroyed in the first story wasn't because she was worried about the Black Guardian finding them, but because she knew that she'd end up getting the call to come back home. Now, this story barely re-emphasises that. And yet, at the very end of the story, she turns around, she's like, I'm going with the good Tharrell. We're going to rebuild everything they did and fix stuff, and they need help. The Tharrells need help. And I can do that. I'm a time sensitive who can help them. And K9's going to come with me. And the Doctor's just sort of like, oh. And it is in a rushed moment of like, she's telling him, and he can't wait, he has to go.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice on his side. Tom gets to sort of perform that quite well, and then the moment where he and Adric, it's like the Doctor and Vicky when Barbara and Ian went back to Earth. Like, back in the TARDIS, you see that he's like, I can't actually quite believe she's just gone.
Yeah.
And he's sad about it. But Lala and Tom don't really get the chance to play it.
It feels like...
It's so sudden. It feels like it comes out of nowhere, even though there is precedent. There is absolutely a reason for her to do this and take this chance. This story needed to reinforce that she didn't want to go home.
Yeah.
And show that she was like, oh my god, these people are so I need to help them. And then she learns that this way she can. It's just like, I need to help them. Yeah, she's going to stay with me. Aslan man. Come along, let's walk through this black and white stock photograph of a manor house. Come along, Romana. It's...
If you didn't know that it was coming, like
a slap in the teeth.
It'd be like, what the hell? Where the hell did that come from? So I didn't like that. I loved Romana. I loved both versions of Romana, and I loved K9. So to me, it was like, oh, that's not the ending they deserved.
Feels odd, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And again, we've talked about this before. All the serialised television, we can't look at it through the same lens we do modern television. Again, if you compare it with Doctor Who directly. Modern Doctor Who is like, if the companion's leaving, the story's a big deal.
Yeah.
If the Doctor's regenerating, the story's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, finales are finales. These finales aren't designed to be the grand finish of the year. It's just the last story of the stories that are going out. But it just sort of feels very anticlimactic when they leave. And it's like, oh, alright. Now, whenever K9 comes on screen, Lucy and I have a tradition that Lucy started.
Yay.
Which is whenever K9 comes on screen, she starts waving at the screen. So one last time, since K9 trundled off into staying in E-space. Because that's the thing as well, Romana and K9 are in E-space. They ain't coming back. So, bye K9 Mark II and Romana 2 Electric Boogaloo. Gonna miss them. Lala Ward is one of my favourite additions to the show, but she has gone. The Doctor and Adric soldier on to Traken! Traken, a world, planetary system, essentially, that has kept utmost peace and prosperity in forever. Like, they're known throughout the universe for being peaceful as sin because they're just good at keeping peace. And it's all overseen by a nominated individual called the Keeper, who has been given, essentially, access to, like, an unlimited power source.
Yeah.
To help, like, not reinforce peace. Like, he doesn't use any horrible methods to do it. It's just to give him the resources needed to, maintain peace without any violent recourse or action.
Yeah.
But the Keeper of Traken is getting old, and he appears in the TARDIS to the Doctor and Adric, and it's like, something's going on. Like, we keep evil. Like, he essentially has that sense of good and evil, and he keeps evil at bay in all of Traken society.
Mm-hmm.
But evil has arrived on Traken.
Yeah, and he needs the Doctor's help.
He needs the Doctor's advice and help because he's at the end of his life and he just needs someone to be there for the transition to make sure nothing goes wrong. Because we have a stone structure, a creature, a being that has calcified over time like a thing left to rot in the back of a garden, called the Melkur. And the Melkur has arrived on Traken, and is being tended to daily by Cassia.
And everything seems to be dying around it.
Yeah, but since a young age, this individual called Cassia, she, is a compassionate Traken, member of the Traken Society.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, it's a living thing. I'm going to make sure it's okay.
She's
and
just like a little fairy.
Yeah, she visits it like regularly and
Yeah.
makes sure it's okay, and she has done for years. She's now marrying Tremas, who is lead scientist in the society and is beloved by all, and he's a wonderful man. And they've been paired together, and his daughter from a previous marriage, Nissa, is sort of following in his footsteps. She's very inquisitive and very scientifically minded, and Cassie is marrying him and marrying into their family, but she still attends the Melkur, and we learn that the Melkur has been talking to her, and that the Melkur has quite possibly been controlling her mind and actions from time to time.
And I think
it's convincing her that it knows something's afoot and she must obey it.
I like how it's kind of told that this has been happening over a long period of time because she was supposed to be looking after this garden, this special garden with all the flowers and fruits and stuff. And one of the mentions, I can't remember which one it is, one of them mentions that she only tends to the statue.
Yeah.
She gives the statue flowers, but she doesn't tend to the rest of the garden.
Yeah. And
it's like, well, I like that they dropped in how long this has been going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, when we first see her, she's the Keeper shows the Doctor and Adric a vision of it. Like, she's clearly in her teens.
Yeah.
And now she's in, like, her 30s, 40s, and she's still doing it.
Yeah.
And as we learn over time goes by, there's sort of some kind of hypnotic thrall over her in some way. So basically, this thing has taken advantage of her compassion and has manipulated her to be a pawn in its game for power.
Yeah.
Because we see an individual watching her through the eyes of the statue. Mm-hmm. And the statue also moves. Well, we see the statue move first, and then we see the viewpoint of someone watching through the eyes. So we realise, right, this is someone controlling this thing and using it as a monitoring station.
Or so we think!
So the Doctor gets there, and essentially, because there's obviously evils going on, and the Keeper sort of passes away in a moment of exasperated shock. And when he does, the people there in the council believe that it's because of the Doctor and Adric showing up. They believe that they're the evil that he is pointing out, when really they're the people coming to help.
And it was a funny shot, actually, because it's the Doctor and Adric in the hall.
Yeah.
And they're asking the Keeper to, say...
Name the great evil. Did you send for these people?
Did you send for these people?
Yeah.
And then it's the
Melkur's
in the background kind of went... Hello! Around the doorway, and they're like, it's like, evil has entered the chamber, and it's like, oh.
So, basically, the Melkur is using Cassia to become the new Keeper, or at least kill the new Keeper and take their place, because Tremas is named as the new Keeper, her husband, so that this thing can then use her to take hold of the main power source and become essentially as a god, like the Keeper is, because the Keeper nominate is always somebody who they know will use that power responsibly for good.
It's like pure of heart.
Yeah, and Cassia was pure of heart. Her intentions to look after the Melkur were pure of heart. So it kind of bypasses it that way, and then as soon as she's there in that seat of power, the Melkur literally like eradicates her.
Yeah, she just like disappears.
Yeah. So this story's great. I love this story a lot.
I really loved this.
The look is beautiful. The sets are gorgeous. The grove,
costumes,
the archway, the doors, the big sliding doors with the sigils.
Yeah. The chairs.
The way
it's
shot.
Beautiful.
They make it look like really long hallways. Like there's a shot toward the end with an item that shouldn't be there that makes it look like the hallway's really wide. It's like, how far in the background is that item? Like there's lots of great stuff. The Melkur is a brilliant design. This ominous statue that's humanoid, but definitely not human-looking.
Props to the actor in the costume, because that must have been really hard to walk around.
Cassia hams it up. I think she misses the mark a couple of times. I feel like she's playing to a theatre audience in the back seat sometimes. But she definitely brings sympathy. The other two council members, they're wonderful. They're very sort of dotty and regal, and they're great. Nissa's lovely in this, Sarah Sutton, making her debut. does a good job in this one. We don't see enough of Nyssa, but she's plucky as anything. She gets like this stun stick that she's basically invented so that they can take out the guards who are at first blindly loyal to what's going on and then kind of being influenced by the power. Which she gives the Doctor, and then he's trigger happy. You feel like the Doctor's never shot at anyone, so in this story he's like, stun, 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 zap, 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 zap. It's something like he's getting an action hero.
Just pass out, don't they?
Tom's getting a reason to do some hero action, essentially, from like classic hero stuff of cowboys and things like that. So he's taking it. He's just like, pew, 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 pew. But the MVP of this story is Tremas. Anthony Ainley makes his debut, and he is wonderful. Him and Tom, and him and Matthew Waterhouse, like, they all have a really lovely rapport.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see the Doctor being dragged into, you know, the thing that we're getting bored of. They're like, it's you! We must imprison them! That scenario happening. But they've got an ally who's like, no, you're right. Some shit's going down. Well, I'm going to look into it with you. Let's figure this out together. Oh, I'm not supposed to show the ancient like blueprints of all this to anyone. But I know that you're a good person. I can feel it. Right, I'm going to show you. Yeah. And you realise that Tremas is absolutely the perfect person to become the Keeper. He's so good of heart. Which is why it's so fucking tragic that in the basically like cliffhanger of this story, because this is the beginning of another trilogy, only 2 stories of which are in this season, something happens. So who's the Melkur? Who does the Melkur turn out? Well, what is the Melkur?
Turns out it's a TARDIS.
Yeah. But not just any bugger's TARDIS.
It's the Cheeky Master's TARDIS! Crispy Master!
He's still crispy. He's not bug-eyed anymore, but he is crispy. He's not Peter Pratt anymore as well. He's Geoffrey Beavers, who is hamming up his voice stuff. He does a great job in this.
He is eating that scenery.
He's without even being in the shots half the time. Like, Geoffrey Beavers is great.
He's eating that scenery without a napkin.
He and Peter Pratt, I think, both did a really good job playing this version of the Master, because it's just this creepy hammer horror monster.
It's like he's so desperate.
It's the mummy waiting for someone to do his bidding so that he can get to a position of power.
It's like he's so desperate to be, like, regenerated. He's got, like, no limits now.
Yeah, and he's kind of hoping that by harnessing the power of the Keeper for himself, he can maybe rejuvenate himself, but he can absolutely just lord over the universe. Like, he's going to use Traken, the most peaceful society ever, to wage war, control, and dominion over everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is such a master plan. Haha, I love it. But he also is keeping the Doctor around, because he's like, what is going to be a more fitting way for me to win and rejuvenate myself than by using you as my new vessel? Like, I'm going to use the power of Traken that I've got from the Keeper's power that I have now, even before it's complete, to basically hop into the Doctor's body and use that body as his new body, which is proper spooky. But he doesn't count on Nyssa and Adric tinkering away and figuring out what to do, using their mathematical and scientific knowledge combined, to screw up the power source long enough that the Master is forced out of his seat of power. Everything goes tits up for the Master.
Yep.
Brilliant. Well done. And we see him sneak in the console, because we realise that the surveillance room is basically the console room of the Melkur TARDIS. It's just a surveillance room. It's not like a console room. He goes toward a grandfather clock in the back of it.
The Doctor and everybody think he's been defeated.
Yeah.
Essentially, deado.
Yeah.
Because the inside was kind of on fire, wasn't it, really?
Oh, it was exploding. Like, it was all screwed. They were, like, rooting the power back.
When I say kind of on fire, I mean on fire.
TV studio on fire. He gets away in another TARDIS. He had a TARDIS inside his goddamn TARDIS.
So, we've seen the grandfather clock before, haven't we? It's been in another story.
I don't know if we have. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments if the Master has used a grandfather clock disguise before.
Sure, he has.
I can't recall if he has, but he exits Tremas goes to look at the clock, because at the very end everything's going to be lovely, and yes, they lost Cassia, but they've saved Traken, and Tremas is going to be the Keeper.
He doesn't seem very heartbroken that he's lost Cassia, because
I think it's more the fact that he realises that, and it never says it outright, I don't think she was necessarily always in love with him. I think she's been manipulated from day one.
If you remember, she said that she didn't want Tremas to be killed.
Yeah, she has feelings. She absolutely has feelings for him.
So she had him arrested as a conspirator.
Yeah.
So he would be saved. So he wouldn't be made the Keeper. So he wouldn't be killed. So I think she really did love him.
Okay.
But
I think it's more just the pacing of a kids' show being put out every week. They have to fit
my
with
wife's
the kind of
dead.
episodes.
Oh well.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, but it's
Goodbye, everyone.
it's also the fact that he's a bastion of peace and virtue and prosperity, and she was conspiring with an evil villain. I think it's just, I think it's more the fact that he's like, I can't believe she was doing this.
Yeah.
But he goes to investigate this random clock after he and Nissa have a lovely moment together, and she goes off, and he is suddenly like paralysed when he holds on to it. He's stuck in place, and the Master exits, and Geoffrey Beavers utters those immortal, sinister words: "A new body, at last," as he and Tremus merge together to become what one can only assume is the Master's kind of Sims profile, me trying to look like me again thingy. Because it's the only way it explains it. Like, the last time we saw the Master not crispy, he was Delgado.
Yeah, fabulous,
And
fabulous Delgado.
wonderful Roger, and he was in all black, usually with gloves, sometimes with white cuffs and a little collar.
And he looked
Resplendent beard.
fantastic.
You know,
he looked
slicked
like
back
a villain.
hair.
He
Yeah.
was a villain.
So it's almost like the Master merges with Tremas, and like Tremas's outfit and hair kind of transform to look like that as best they can.
Which is a shame because
So-
Tremas's hair was amazing.
So he has this, this black outfit, but it's got sort of like the Traken like decor to the collar, and he's got like the puffy shoulders,
Yeah.
and
Not my
it's a
favourite,
more
but-
velvety top. I think
Yeah.
it's going to grow on you. I think it's going to grow on you.
Is it going to stay like that?
Yeah, that's his costume. For
His
most
shoulders
of
are
the story,
massive.
for most of the stories going forward, that is his costume.
His shoulders are huge.
Until Survival, where he gets a really cool update, but it's only in the one story. But there's like a velvet jacket and smart trousers and boots, and it's sort of in between. And he keeps Tremus's beard, but it's now like the master
the
beard.
Master beard, yeah.
And he's got slick back
Master
hair, and it's jet black now, and it's like, oh shit. And what was really special about this is Lucy's seen like classic Who here and there over the years, but the moment the story started, Tremus is talking. She turned to me. She went, "Is that the Master?" And I went, "No, it's Anthony Ainley, who goes on to play the Master, but no, he's playing Tremus, but well spotted." And you were like, "Oh, great." You had no idea this was a Master story, did you?
At first, I thought this is a Master story because that's I think they said Roger Delgado. What's his name?
Anthony Ainley.
Anthony
Yeah.
Ainley. And I was like, this is a Master story. And then you said, no.
He goes on to
because-
play.
Yeah, because if you think about it, they've used a lot of actors before.
Yeah, I
recycled
cited
them.
the guys who come back, and
And I was like, oh, okay. Because usually I'd be like,
Now, did I
no.
lie?
No, you didn't lie. But-
he's Anthony Ainley playing Tremas, and he will go on one day to play the Master. I
But-
was not lying.
Usually I'm kind of like, I'm suspicious. But this time I was like, oh, right, okay, yeah, fair enough.
So then when the Master is revealed in part 4, were you like, wait, it's actually the Master?
When it get, yeah, I was like, oh my god,
And
I was right.
Did you start to
Almost.
put 2 and 2 together that something was going to happen? Because you've got Anthony Ainley in the story, but you like, something's going to happen.
No, I had no idea until
okay.
until he touched that clock.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it'll probably turn up next series and it's him. Kind of like a Romana thing, like, oh, I saw him and I liked
Yeah,
the way he looked.
because Lala Ward.
Yeah. But guys, I was shook. I was.
She was
shook to the
hashtag shook.
core. I was like, I kind of saw this coming and then I didn't. So now I'm completely shocked.
So,
I loved it. I loved that.
the
story.
new era of
That
the
was-
Master begins.
That was really good. That story.
I really like Keeper of Traken.
Really, really liked it.
We watched Keeper of Traken episodes 1 and 2 in one night, and we were like, should we keep going? And I think it was just the fact that it'd been a long day and you wanted a bath. You went, no, we'll carry on tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And then we carried on. This was Saturday just gone, we watched this. God, we really finished on Saturday. It's Friday now.
We usually
What the
record the day
hell?
after, but it's been a bit of a long week.
It's been a bit of a
hasn't it?
week. So
I can't remember what happened during the week, but yeah.
so
We're
we
here.
so the next night we watched the next 2 episodes, and I said, should we move on to Logopolis? And you said, no, not tonight. And I was like, is it because you're putting off watching Tom's last story? And you went, yeah. And I was like, right, come on, let's do it. Like it's like 9 o'clock. It's an hour and 40 minutes. Let's do it. Let's blast through Logopolis. Partially the reason why I went to blast through Logopolis is because you loved Keeper of Traken, like me, so much that I knew you'd probably feel the same way I did about Logopolis. This is the final story, the 7th and final story of Season 18. It's Tom Baker's last story in the lead role of the Doctor. And I think this is shit. I really don't like Logopolis!
It's not good.
Now, that is not to say there is not stuff I enjoy in it. There absolutely is.
Yeah.
And I know there are a lot of people who love this. A friend of the show, my best mate Matt, loves this story because he loves it. He loves its depiction and theme of entropy. He loves how it's woven into it. And as a result, he really enjoys the pacing. The fact that it is slower paced and kind of melancholic.
I mean, Matt, I am judging you right now. But...
I love the first episode. I love the first episode of this, and I love the fourth episode of this. I could do without episodes 2 and 3.
It felt too long.
So the Doctor is getting sick of certain things. The Master's come back and that's peed him off. He's lost Romana and K9. Adric and him are getting on, but there's a bit of tetchiness and tension at the start of this story.
I don't feel like they kind of know each other yet.
Well, that's the thing. I think the Doctor's like, look, I'm basically your custodian. I'm basically looking after you as a duty of care because it would be wrong to dump a random kid in a different universe or on another planet for no reason. So you've got to help me out. And he basically, you can see this is the episode where he's like, right, you're going to be my apprentice. Like, we're going to do some shit. He has a bit of thinking and he's like, do you know what the cloister bell is? The cloister bell is like within the heart of the TARDIS and it sounds when something is universally wrong. When there's something really badly wrong, the cloister bell rings. So this episode introduces it in a classic MacGuffin fashion. It then goes off like within 5 minutes. But he introduces the idea, and we see the cloisters, like this big open sort of this big open sort of courtyard within the TARDIS.
Yeah.
There seems to be a place where he goes to have a think. And basically the Doctor feels something is on the turn. Something is going to happen. And that's why he's come to the cloisters, because he's like, I was expecting the bell to ring. Mm-hmm. Something is off. I don't know what. Right, come on, business as usual. You're going to be my little apprentice. Here's how we're going to go. The TARDIS has looked like a police box for way too long. I need a change. Something's got to change in general, so I'm going to do this. It's basically the Doctor in lockdown. Lockdown started, and I immediately started doing like cleaning and learning how to do Twitch. You started gardening and making a load of like crochet creatures. Yeah. Like you get bored, you need a bit of a change, so you just do it.
Yeah. And
that's what the Doctor's doing. But because the chameleon circuit and the exterior of the TARDIS is not a solid object in the traditional sense, to possibly fix the circuit, the outside of it needs to be measured so it can then be manipulated. And the only way he's going to get it completely accurately is with the most accurate maths ever. Well, he's got Adric with him, who's got mathematical excellence. He can do that thing. Come on, Minnie, come on. He can. You know, he's the right companion to help with maths. But he's also basically going to hand it over to a peoples who he's used before, apparently, whose entire job is maths. The Logopolitans on the planet Logopolis.
Yeah. They're
the greatest mathematical minds in existence. So the Doctor and Adric are like, right, we need to measure a police phone box and measure it up against the TARDIS one, the TARDIS's measurements, and we can figure out what we're doing. So we need to get to a police phone box. I know, I'll take you to Earth. Like, we'll literally just materialise around a police phone box on Earth, we'll take its measurements, and then we'll bugger off.
Yeah.
But someone's been on their tail since the end of the last story. The Master's TARDIS has been following the Doctor's, and he's been anticipating where he's going to go. So there's a police call box on like on a hard shoulder on the motorway. That obviously is just being used occasionally by traffic control policemen, and the Doctor materialises around it when there's already another TARDIS materialised around it. This stuff is really cool because they get there, they open the police box inside their police box, and walk into the interior of the TARDIS.
Yeah,
and they're like, "What the hell is going on?" The Doctor eventually figures out that another TARDIS must already be here. We're trapped. Basically, we're trapped in this loop forever unless we can get out. And he eventually goes on through enough of them till he gets out of the police box itself onto the hard shoulder. There's an air hostess or someone applying to be an air stewardess called Tegan, who's with her auntie Vanessa, and we get the debut of Janet Fielding in the show, driving to her exam at the airport, her final interview.
No, I think this was going to be her first day as an air hostess because she was dressed as an air hostess. If you're trained
to be true,
one,
but we are in the era of John Nathan Turner, who's very literal with his costumes. This is the guy who, as a producer, insisted the Doctor have question marks on his lapels. This is the guy who decided that Adric, that all the companions basically need to have superhero sidekick costumes. Adric his design does not change ever. Nissa's does not change ever. Tegan's very rarely changes.
Yeah,
she's the only one.
Doesn't change.
Nope. Just variations on the same costume they're currently wearing.
What do they wear when it's wash day?
Everyone has a look now like the Doctor. So I'm sure they mention it again. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But I'm sure they mention in this that like she's going to like her final exam basically, and maybe part of that is etiquette training. She is before she leaves practicing sort of the routine discussions and this that, and the other. And I've been to one of the attendant training areas at Manchester Airport. I filmed there
Really?
for Hacker Time. There was a thing they did for Hacker Time called Aeroplane.
Was that in a real?
It was in an airplane, but it's not a complete aeroplane.
Yeah, it's a training one.
It's a training one, so it's the cockpit of one and the passenger section just in the middle of a section of the airport off to the side.
That's well cool.
So it's possible that they were just going to take her on there, and the examiners are like, right, let's watch her do the procedures, and it's about how you prepare yourself. So it's possible, but
it's a nice costume.
It's also because John Nathan Turner wants all the characters to basically have set costumes, and that's the look. That's why Peter Davison's costume only really changes in terms of the trousers are a bit different every now and again, but his costume remains exactly the same throughout his run. And Colin's remains exactly the same, and Sylvester's, there's two variations, but it's pretty much the same costume. Like, that John Nathan Turner is all about iconography, visual iconography.
Right.
Even with the companions. Which is why next series, you're going to take a look at our main cast, look at them in a lineup and be like, the hell is going on? Like,
oh no!
What the hell is going on? Because they all just look so weird.
Oh, God.
Gone is the like visuals of an everyday Earth man or woman on another planet, and that being what makes them stand out. Now everyone looks like a cartoon character. But Tegan's Auntie Vanessa is killed, as is the policeman, by a tissue compression eliminator, giving the game away to the Doctor that the Master is tracking him down, following him, playing tricks, basically. Like he's tormenting him. So he goes along with his plan and he heads to Logopolis. Upon Logopolis, well, at first they try to get rid of the Master by flushing out his TARDIS, because he's like, the Master's TARDIS is inside my TARDIS. And there's no way we're going to be able to easily find it. He could be disguised as anything, he could change it, he could move it if he knows we're coming close. He's going to screw with us.
Because his chameleon circuit works.
He's going to screw with us, or kill us, or whatever. So, what we'll do is we'll flush him out. And that's his plan initially. Like, we are going to flush him the hell out. And the way he's going to do it is they're literally going to park under the Thames, swim out of the TARDIS, open the doors and swim out of the TARDIS, and him and Adric swim to the surface, and the Master's TARDIS get flushed out of the TARDIS.
And just kind of wait a bit.
Which is sort of, I think that's brilliant, because it's so madcap and ridiculous. But what a great idea, but it doesn't work, because when he manages to act, because he's starting to get better at the accuracy now.
Thanks to Romana.
With the control, thanks to Romana. He lands in the right spot, because the plan is to land there and then, like, sink. But they land on a barge. Which is a
really
great visual!
Yeah. A barge in a traffic jam, now is that a thing? Is there traffic jams on the Thames?
Sort of, yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, you know, these things can bottleneck at the smaller areas. But Tegan gets into the TARDIS because she goes to the police call box to call for help, and she gets lost in the TARDIS, and she sees the Master's TARDIS, and everything's freaking her out. So Tegan's now on for the ride when the Doctor and Adric take the TARDIS to Logopolis. And the plan now basically is to just like go ahead with what they're doing and keep an eye out for the Master, because the Master has... Oh, that's it, the Master has already disappeared. And they figure out from his trail that he's going to Logopolis.
Yeah.
So he's like, right, we need to get there. Like, we're already going there, we need to freaking get there. So he gets there, and he speaks to... I'm trying to remember what the main guy's called now.
Just remember.
The Monitor, played by John Fraser. And they get there, and the Monitor is the guy who's in head of... Oh, God, hang on. We're running out of memory card space.
Oh, no!
Oh, no! Back with you in a second. One swift footage back up and change later. Oh, hey, might as well flip the thing on so we can actually see what we're doing. There we go. That was annoying.
Hi!
So, they arrive on Logopolis and are met by the Monitor, who's like, oh, hello, how the devil are you doing, no, Billy May? Yeah. And we were immediately hit by what weirdly striking resemblance the Monitor had to Noel Edmonds. Specifically, Ian Kirkby's version of Noel Edmonds from Dick and Dom programmes. So every time he wobbled his big old wig around, we were going, Little Nolly! Every time he turned a corner. Which completely ruined the atmosphere on this watch, but it hasn't coloured our opinion of the story. Just, yeah.
Every time it's like he saw his full face, I was like, he's Noel. It's Noel.
Little Nolly!
It's Little Nolly.
You said Australian when you say Little Nolly.
I can't do your accent. No, you told me not to do an Australian accent.
You've got to resist the urge for a few seasons. So
that was just...
So the Doctor, Adric and Tegan get to Logopolis, and meanwhile the Master is seeding his plan, but they're not the only ones there. Nissa's there. Because they got a distress signal from Traken, didn't they, saying that Tremus has gone missing.
Yeah.
So the Doctor at one point must have just pinged them and said, right, I'm going to Logopolis, must be in the same system or whatever, get Nissa to Logopolis. So we'll talk it out, or whatever. Or, I can't believe remember what happens now, or he mentions that he can't be there, he's going to Logopolis. So, like,
I don't think it's mentioned,
so Traken are just like, yeah, here you go. Basically, she's there because Sarah Sutton was in the one story, and then John Nathan Turner decided during Traken that actually I want to keep her around. Do you want to be in more stories? So she's just written in. Someone drops her off.
Random.
But it's also ripe for brilliant drama if they play it right, because the Master is walking around in the body of her father.
Yeah, gross.
Like, and her father is effectively dead.
Yeah.
Like, Tremus is gone. And his flesh is a ship that this Time Lord's consciousness is walking around in. Not the only time the Master's going to do that as well.
My gosh.
But it's like, okay, there's some great drama there. And Sarah Sutton does get given one scene where she gets to really kind of milk that in this, where she sort of realises. Because, of course, her father talks to her. And convinces her that he's on a mission for the government of Traken and stuff, because he believes there's some horrible stuff going on and it's going to be happening in Logopolis. So, I'm undercover and I'm going to do this and the other.
Yeah, don't tell anybody I'm here.
Yeah. And really, he's just randomly killing members. He's randomly killing Logopolitans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I heard a bee. Like the sound of a bee trapped against the window, like buzzing.
Yeah, you're so cute.
So Logopolis is, what we see of it is it's basically this big kind of starfish-shaped stone colony with all these little alcoves that lead to presumably homes and whatnot within it. All the Logopolitans kind of look the same. They're all in black robes, big white hair. The best way to describe them is they look like the Council of Ricks.
Yeah, they do. Genuinely, they do.
All the Council of Ricks look like the Logopolitans.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But
they look like each other.
Look at me, Morty! I'm a space mathematician! Because... And in the middle of this alcove is a perfect replica of the Pharos project from Earth, the satellite station that is pinging basically messages out into the stars and waiting for something to be received.
Still waiting.
Still waiting. But they've recreated that because sometimes they don't use computers. The Logopolitans are the computer.
Yeah, they don't need them.
But they use these rudimentary versions to essentially store data they don't need at that moment. And the Pharos project apparently just seems to be the perfect sort of example of, here is this kind of facility that can help us store things we don't need at this moment in time, but also give us a version of a more primitive way of mathematics that we can then utilise and compare and contrast with. Essentially it's for research, but it's very striking that just in the middle of this rock sculpture that they all live in is a big dish and an office. It's like, okay, that's really odd. But whatever, like, they use that technology to do the measurements for the TARDIS on behalf of the Doctor.
Yeah.
We learn over the course of the story that Logopolis helps helps run and facilitate countless civilizations around the universe. Like, it's why the Doctor's like, oh, I'll go there. They owe me a favour. I'll go there and I'll give them the TARDIS measurements, and they can figure it out. So that way, I can get hold of the chameleon circuit, measure by measure, and sort of fix it or reboot it.
Yeah.
Like, these guys would be great at it. And they won't mind.
And they're old friends almost, because they greet each other.
Yeah.
Nicely.
And these guys sit around. There's hundreds of them. They just sit around in stools in their alcoves with
their abacuses
or abaci.
Abaci.
In a way.
Yes.
I don't know if that's the plural, but I hope it is. And
it is now.
They calculate stuff, and they essentially act like a hive brain, but with their own individual touch, because the Monitor explains, and this is the fascinating part of this concept, the Monitor explains that for all computers can do, the human instinct and ingenuity is a different thing that cannot be replicated by a computer.
Yeah.
And as a result, when it comes to this mass mathematical equation sort of sessions, because they're specifically looking to block. Oh my god, what is it? Block transfer. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to read it because it's got a specific name and they keep reiterating it. The thing they need to basically figure out the TARDIS's measurements is something that a computer can do. Is it block transfer computation?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Computation sounds right.
So they need, the human ingenuity, the living ingenuity is something that is going to best compute at any time. But obviously other societies are relying on them too. So the Master starts causing destruction. He just starts tissue compression, eliminating people randomly, and leaving
it's
their
kind of
bodies
shutting
behind.
down the city almost.
Yeah, because as far as he's concerned, if he does that, he's sending a message, and he's going to hold them all hostage. He even puts like a side plot that's completely unnecessary. He puts like a bracelet on Nyssa as her father is like, it's a gift, it'll keep us in touch.
So you can find me.
But it's basically so that he can sort of temporarily muscle control her into throttling people. And it's really pointless. Like, it's such a pointless side plot that in the end. But I think it's done so that Nyssa knows. Christopher Bidmead does some good things for the show. I don't think this is the strongest script at all. But so that Nyssa realises that's not my father. My father would never manipulate me into killing people.
Yeah.
There would have been other ways to show that. Like him just killing Trakens with the compression eliminator, which we never see used, but in the story we see a bunch of results from.
Do you know what?
If he'd used it in front of her and been like, no, I have to kill them, it's part of the mission, she would have been like, you're not my father. Like, that would have been the thing. But instead they come up with a stupid gold bracelet.
Yeah, that she says it's too small, but it's clearly too big.
It's clearly massive on Sarah Sutton's tiny wrist.
So she has to wear it on her arm.
Yeah, it's odd. But Tegan and Nyssa, although Sarah Sutton gets a scene to act with it, and she does really good, but Tegan and Nyssa get over the deaths of their relatives pretty quickly in this. They're suddenly the plucky sidekicks of a Saturday morning cartoon character. Adric is very proactive in this till he's not.
Yeah.
And he becomes a Saturday morning cartoon character sidekick. Yeah. The show basically turns into the Doctor's Winnie the Pooh and everyone else is Piglet. That's basically what's happening, isn't it?
Oh my god, that's
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're just there. It's okay, he's Captain Planet and they're the other five. It's the Planeteers, it's what is this? It's odd. But it leads to the point where the interesting concept is the Monitor says, you've started off a chain reaction. Everyone here is going to be dying. Or the Master's pretty much killed everyone in the Citadel. He's everyone's going to die. The society's going to fall apart. But guess what, Mother Trucker? Logopolis is the nucleus in the middle of the universe. So much relies on us, not just from a beneficial of having taken our knowledge and us helping them.
Yeah.
But our existence is a mathematical core component of the universe's structure. And you've basically come in and gone, no. So Logopolis starts to crumble, including just disappearing. The Monitor has this wonderfully horrific moment where the wall's been vanishing, and he's at the computer things on the wall trying to fix it, and then he screams, and they turn around, and he's disappearing like the wall.
Yeah.
And it's oh my god, this is horrible. So that's where the interesting idea comes in, because suddenly the universe is screwed. So what the Doctor does is he roots all the calculatory prowess of all of this into the Pharos project, figures out how this sort of technology could deal with balancing Logopolis being missing, and is right, we need to get out of Logopolis now. So him and the Master form a temporary truce. And I love how Tom plays it. He doesn't even want to do the handshake. He's ugh.
Yeah.
And Ainley sort of plays into that on purpose. The Master's suddenly very chummy with him.
Yeah.
Because he knows it's making the Doctor feel sick. Because originally the Doctor is going to leave Adric and Tegan with the Logopolitans while he stops everything. But when the society starts to fall apart, he's right, get in the TARDIS. Come with me. We need to get the hell out of here. And they have to go with the Master. And they get into the TARDIS and they go, and the TARDIS arrives on Earth. That's it. He's just going to arrive on. He's just sent them in the TARDIS. They'll be in safety, and I think Adric manages to maneuver it so that it arrives at the Pharos project, because the Doctor and the Master go in the Master's TARDIS to the real Pharos project. The Master's TARDIS disguised at this point for some inexplicable reason like a column, despite the fact there are none like that on Logopolis, and it mostly hides inside an alcove anyway.
The Doctor says that it's going to go to Earth because.
Right. Oh, because Tegan's Earth!
Earth, yay!
Yeah.
And then suddenly she decides not to go, and she decides I want to know what's going on.
I'm going with him because he's the one who's in. It's
I'm going to go and get him to answer my questions. And sorry for that show.
Yeah, sorry guys, we can't help it. Janet Fielding has a wonderfully imitatable voice because Tegan just very heavily defines certain things and sentences that what the hell.
But yeah, it's just absurd that instead of going back to her home planet where she wants to go, where she was taken by accident, And instead of doing that, she's going to go through this rubble in a city that's just been destroyed on a planet that she's never heard of and never even knew existed, to go and ask the Doctor some questions.
Yeah, because he's the one who got me here, so I'm sticking with him. It's like, his machine's going to take you back to...
But it's not. It's not even in a way of, oh, I'm sticking with him because he seems to know what he's doing and you guys don't. It's I need him to answer my questions. It's like, who gives a monkey's bum? Do you know what I mean? But go back to your own planet!
Now, to be fair, they all do get there. They all land at the Pharos Project. And we get some classic John Pertwee serial-esque 4th episode, him and the Master having to deal with each other stuff where the Master's like, right, we'll do this. I'll go kill him. And the Doctor's like, no, you don't have to bloody kill him. What are you doing?
That's quite funny.
There's a lot of that going on, where the Master's like raising his tissue compression eliminator, which now looks like a phallic wand, and the Doctor keeps just like putting it down. I think at one point he just snatches it off him, doesn't he? It's like, stop it.
Doesn't he throw it in that field?
Yes, because the Master grabs it on the way back, because, of course, like, the security guards, the Pharos Project, like, what the hell's going on here? So they hook it all up, but essentially what they're going to do is they're going to turn the Pharos Project into the logical point where all of Logopolis is, like, the keystone of the universe that it is will be harnessed here for the moment. And then, presumably, the Doctor will, like, transfer it out into the universe so that it's, it's out there and no one can touch it or whatever. But there's a key moment where it's all going to be harnessed into the Pharos Project.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to broadcast to the universe to let the universe know, like, this is happening. Logopolis is gone. This is out there now. Deal with it. And, of course, the Master sideswipes it because he realises he now is holding the universe hostage with a grenade, effectively. Yeah. Peoples of the universe, please attend carefully. And the Doctor doesn't hear this broadcast, and then he plays it to the Doctor. And the Doctor's like, while I've been in here and you've been out there, you've been sending a voicemail out to the universe. You arsehole. And the Master is going to be able to enact it all unless the Doctor unplugs a certain component. So he climbs out onto the satellite as it's turning and unplugs it at the last minute, completely foiling the Master's plan. Now, throughout the story, the Doctor's been talking about entropy and the feeling that something is coming. The cloister bell ringing, he's originally like, is this, warning of what's going on, but maybe it's just to sort of warn him that something's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been a mysterious figure watching them from the wings. First we see them on like the hard shoulder, that it's watching Tegan and Auntie Vanessa, and then the Doctor spies it briefly. When they get to the Thames, they see it, and the Doctor goes up to talk to it. We don't hear the conversation, but comes back, and Andrew's like, who is it? And he's like, it's my future. Like, just move on. We've got stuff to do. Like, things are more serious than I realised. We have to keep going.
Yeah. So
the presence of this mysterious stranger is making the Doctor realise, no, this is serious. I need to put my serious hat on, and that's why I think he's more proactive and crotchety in the last 2 episodes. He's like, nope, got to do this, we're doing this, because he suddenly realised the severity of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when you realise that Logopolis is the keystone, one of the keystones of the universe, you're like, oh, this must be why this thing is here. It's like creation itself is under threat. Buckle up, son, knuckle down.
Knuckle down.
But no, it's tied in more personally than that. Because even though it's been patrolling in the background in Logopolis, and we see it every now and again, it finally arrives proper when the tower turns, the Doctor unplugs the project and falls to his death, leaving the Master to basically bugger off in his column and disappear into time and space.
Yeah, the dish is turning.
The dish is turning, the Doctor unplugs it at the last minute. He saved the day, and he plummets off of the Pharos Project. A fatal height. So Tegan, Nyssa and Adric all run to him, and he's lay out there on the ground, and they're like, oh god, yeah, he's not coming back from this. Like, obviously it's a kid's show, so they don't show you, like, the extreme violence of what, like, a drop like that could do to the body, but he's splayed out, and the implication is his body is broken.
Yeah.
And he is going to die. And this feeling of entropy that he's been talking about, this feeling of chaos ultimately leading to forget it, is sort of personified by the fact that he has, like, this life flashes before his eyes as he's about to plummet.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
It's a bit hokey in the execution, but it is kind of nice that basically all of this incarnation's friends flash before his eyes.
I liked it because I was like, oh, better stories.
Well, first his enemies flash before his eyes. He sees the Daleks, he sees the Cybermen, the Zygons.
All saying his name.
Yeah, like Meglos, and they're all like
No,
speaking
his name's the
his name.
Doctor, not Meglos.
Bloody hell! But they're all speaking of the Black Guardian. Like you hear the Black Guardian like chiding him that he's coming for him and all this stuff.
Ugh.
And you're like, this is the entropy he was talking about. This is the chaos leading to an inevitable downfall. Like he's exhausted, and then when he crashes to the ground, like he sees his friends. It's almost like he's reminded that amongst all that, there was all this too. And you see Sarah, and you see Harry, and you see the Brigadier. And you see Leela, and you see both Romanas, and it's like, look, you see Canines, like you have friends out there. So that moment is really nice. The execution's a bit odd because it sort of comes out of nowhere, but you get why it's happening. And can you remember what his last words were? Madrick, like, asks him who the hell is he?
Yeah.
How's he doing? What the hell, is going on and everything.
It's the
end. But the moment has been prepared for.
Oh, I was going to say foretold.
Yeah, no, not that grandiose. And then he points up, and the Watcher's there, and the Watcher approaches slowly, and that's when Adric puts two and two together. The Watcher was the next Doctor waiting in the wings. So he's lived a long-ass life, he's done a lot of stuff. It's his time. And it's almost like it's the closest one to Hartnell's regeneration, to me, of it's his time. Like, his time has come. Hartnell's, like, wearing thin. Like, and he's flustered because he sort of can feel it coming.
Yeah.
And he goes to the TARDIS and he starts to sort of tinker with the controls, and then he passes away on the floor and regenerates into his next body. This is the second time. This is the next time where it feels like a similar sort of thing. Like the universe is now going, right, come on, you're done now, and his next incarnation is like chomping at the bit. And it's also great because this is the regeneration that makes me think that the modern series needs to mix it up, because none of the regenerations are exactly the same.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The first Doctor regenerates in the TARDIS and makes a big point of the TARDIS when he wakes up in Power of the Daleks. He makes a point of like the TARDIS helps regeneration.
Yeah, you need to get back to the TARDIS.
Like he needed to get back to the TARDIS, and not only does he turn to a new man who's seemingly very like, oh, all right, yes, let's get on with it then. Like la la la. Yeah. His outfit's different. Like he's completely rejuvenated. So it's this implication that that's what regeneration is.
Yeah.
The second Doctor's forced to regenerate, so I kind of like the idea that in that he's in the same outfit when he tumbles out the TARDIS at start Spearhead. And then we see the third Doctor. The third Doctor is going to die, but what's his face from Planet Spiders does his little kind of. He sort of gives him. We now could look at it as maybe he's giving him like some regeneration energy because he's recently regenerated himself. So he sort of helps trigger a regeneration.
Yeah.
Because the implication is the third Doctor is just going to die.
Yeah.
And then this guy's like, here we go, I've just given the process a push. And then he regenerates, and you see his face fade, and Tom Baker's face appear. This one's like, it's on that. This mysterious white ghost is going to merge with the Doctor's body.
He's going to walk into him.
And he's going to transform into his next incarnation.
Yeah.
I love this. I bloody love this. I won't say anything about upcoming regenerations you've not seen, but upcoming ones do play around a little bit with the effects of regeneration, like what it does to the body. Most notably in this next story. Like, in John's he was a bit erratic.
Yeah.
And in Tom's first he was a bit manic, but then by the end of that story you're like, no, this is just what he's like, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not chopping. He's not karate chopping bricks in half every episode, but he's after this, they play more with the effect of what it does to your personality, like the shock of regeneration. Sort of implying that the more times a Time Lord regenerates, the more of a mess of the mind it makes, like the harder it is mentally each time.
Yeah.
And you've seen that in the modern series. Like Tennant is physically out of it for all of his first story. Smith is like on it, but he sort of attaches to someone. Like he attaches to little Amelia Pond, and that sort of keeps him stable.
There we go.
Yeah. No. And like Capaldi's Totso in his first story. He's not quite right yet. He's manic. And Jodie's more like Matt. She's like, oh God, I'm in the middle of something. I've got to deal with this. I need to deal with this. I need to just do it. Proactive. Be proactive. Do it. But the next three Doctors, you get to see sort of the post-regeneration stress aspect.
Right.
For better or for worse. But I like this regeneration a lot. And I think with Logopolis, every time I watch it, I do think, I wish the first episode and the fourth episode were exactly the same, but 2 and 3 were merged into one.
Yeah.
And it was a 3-parter.
Yeah, it was too long.
Hard shoulder on the motorway with TARDIS inside TARDIS inside TARDIS mystery. visit to Logopolis isn't this weird, setting the stakes, the destruction of Logopolis, the Faros Project finale, the fight on the tower. Like, perfect. Didn't need to be so Logopolitan in the middle.
Yeah.
Cool set design, though.
Yeah, it did look good.
Like, the extended halls of the people doing calculus is like, it's a matte painting on a back wall, and
yeah, that
on
looks
on a smaller telly, that would have looked
That looked
real.
really good. We had to rewind that just to see.
We're like,
it
is that
looked,
a painting?
It looked
Holy
really
crap,
good.
it's a painting! And it does look, I mean, obviously, it doesn't look good on a big screen.
Well, when
The-
we
the
rewound
effect-
it,
yeah,
paused it.
the effect doesn't look good on a 50-inch TV,
No.
but thinking back to the context of this being on, like, you know, a TV no bigger than sort of 10, 11 inches in you know, the screen, like, that looked great.
To be
That
honest,
looked really good.
fleetingly, just looking at it, like, as you're looking at the main characters, and you just seeing that in the background, not focusing on it, it did look effective and really good. It only looked a bit poo when we rewound it and were staring at it.
Yeah.
So I think it worked really well. It was a good idea to do that.
You know, the set design side, I think the Logopolitan costumes are quite cool, but I was thinking Council of Ricks the entire time.
I just couldn't get little Noli out there.
Their facial hair and headpieces like the mad scientist in the opening credits of Robot Chicken. Like, it's...
Do you know what it made me think of? That, because, like, it emphasised...
Noel Evans, it made you think of.
Oh, don't
Little Nolly!
Little Noli! Because it was implied that was their brains at the back of their heads, because they're so smart, that's their brains.
Well, not implied, but it's this sort of there's like a fleshy hue to their hair.
I took that as that's their brains, because they're so smart, you've got to emphasise how smart they are by giving them bigger brains.
You know, having them sitting around doing calculus, not just for fun, to paraphrase Weird Al, but because that's what they do, isn't convincing enough, apparently.
It made me think of an episode of The Simpsons where an episode of Itchy and Scratchy where I can never remember which one's which. Itchy is the mouse.
Yes, Scratchy's the cat.
Why
are you laughing?
Where Scratchy is...
Hey, they're laughing at your pen!
That's a really good impression.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to say the
That's
cat.
all I
in
bring
case
to
I
the
get it wrong.
table.
Where the cat has been rescued, this aged cat has been rescued by these alien mice who, like, dress him and look after him, and they like float. They almost look like the aliens from the Mars Attacks. It kind of look like that, but they've got big brains and they control the cat with the brains.
This experiment failed.
And like their brains throb as they do things. That's what it made me think of. That was really long.
Oh, that was based on Twilight Zone. That Itchy and Scratchy cartoon visual is based on a Twilight Zone story. There you go. There you go.
I'm not going to spend all this time looking.
Do you remember those aliens in the Twilight Zone, guys? With their brains are all lumpy.
Like they throb when they do things. Like they don't use their arms; they use their brains.
The Logopolitans look like they belong in a council scene in a Futurama episode.
They really do.
There you go.
They really do. That was
there's your Simpsons
Sorry,
comparison,
I'm
as it
not
were.
good at describing things. That is one of my many
I am not
flaws.
a smart man.
I'm not a smarty.
Season 18.
But in the Logopolis, I liked that the continuation of the Master using his weapon to make people tiny.
Yeah, the tissue compression eliminator.
I like that is continued throughout the
Masters. I think it's there mostly to reinforce the idea that this is the same guy that plagued John Pertwee's Doctor. Like, this is him.
Yeah.
He is the same dude.
I liked the regeneration. I thought that looked quite good. But
I love the music in Logopolis as
yeah,
well.
it was really
the music
good,
is stunning in Logopolis.
But it was too long.
Trim an episode. Just one.
I think in this series in particular, it forgot that it was a kids show. Like
there's a lot of sciencey. There's no kid POV. Even Adric, being a kid, is still a maths genius.
Yeah.
I
don't think
Tegan, like Nissa's a science genius. Tegan brings some much needed audience POV, but she doesn't act like a real person after episode 3 of Logopolis.
No.
First 2 episodes, she's absolutely believable. Charming as hell when we see her like leaving the house and forgetting stuff, and then her auntie being like, "Oh, I've forgot my glasses," and she's like, "Oh, for Pete's sake!" They switch like
shut the door.
That's it. All that is lovely, and it sets you up to being like, "Who's this? She seems nice."
Yeah.
And then by episode 3, she is just like making stupid decisions, like you say, like running after the Doctor instead of going back to Earth.
But in the episode with the cats, I forgot what it's called.
Warriors Gate.
Warriors Gate, there was way too much science jargon.
The episode starring Old Deuteronomy in Narnia, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we paused it to talk about Narnia, didn't we?
Yeah, because I was like, they remind me of Aslan from the BBC
puppet
adaptations. With
so,
the slow-moving mouth.
so that's how interesting that one was.
Sun.
But yeah, I do feel like it's forgotten.
Daughters of Eve.
See, we're going back into it now. But I do feel it was too sciencey, this one. As stupid as that sounds, I hope you know what I mean.
There's no kid perspective.
No.
There's no kid perspective.
No, not at all.
And John Nathan Turner's effect on the show starts here. From what I've watched so far, I don't love his hand in the show's direction as much as I did Barry Letts, Philip Hinchcliffe. Like the third and fourth Doctor's eras work better for me. Specifically, the entire Third Doctor era, like the first few seasons of the Fourth Doctor, is where my classic Who love mostly lies, with a big chunk of Hartnell tacked on. Certain things work. The way they bring back the Master works.
Yeah.
The way that the show starts to look works.
Yeah.
Like, they clearly spend a lot of money in Leisure Hive and then try and save money over the next few stories a bit. But then once it gets toward the end of the series, they're getting bolder again. Warriors Gate's opening shot is beautiful. The shot going through the dark ship.
Yeah.
Logopolis looks great. The story overall looks good. Traken is some of the best sets. You know, but it's the cartoony look of the characters. I think they forget that we need an actual human perspective in this somewhat. Like, there's a lot you can see for the last couple of series. There's a lot of aping of Star Wars, because Star Wars has come out by now and has been the biggest thing on the planet. Empire Strikes Back comes out during this season. I think, is this 80? Majority of the season? Yeah, Empire Strikes Back comes out during this season. Like, it's the Star Wars influence is starting on the show.
Yeah, you can see it, yeah.
But they forget that those Star Wars stars nothing but aliens from far-off worlds. One of them is a farm boy, who is our POV character, who learns about the different things. He's vaguely aware of them, but he doesn't know them entirely. He knows the Force exists, and he knows the Jedi Knights were a thing, but it takes Ben talking about it for us, the audience, to go, oh, right, oh, okay. And that's missing now. Now, going forward, I'm not familiar chronologically with the eras we're about to watch, apart from Sylvester and Colin. Like, I've got more of a sense of their eras than Peter's. I've watched a lot of Peter's, but I've also not watched a lot of Peter's. And I've not watched... The stuff I've watched, I haven't really watched in order.
Right.
So, I'm interested to see how I feel about it, whether or not I get that vibe, and I'm sure you're the same, of if there's going to be an audience POV going forward. Is Tegan going to be more our eyes and ears going forward? In a way that makes us go, oh, that's good, I'm glad you're there.
Yeah.
Because all three of the companions are open to learning. But two of them talk gobbledygook as scientists and mathematicians in a way that is kind of, like, hard to grasp and follow.
I think Romana was... It could have gone like that. But they were, like, working it out together, like, speaking it out as they were doing it.
Like that brilliant bit in State of Decay where they're in the prison cell and they're just talking through stuff, and it's like, this is great. They're both explaining things to each other.
They figure it out together. Yeah. Whereas with...
It was more Scooby-Doo in this, and their relationship, in terms of them, like, figuring out the mystery and talking it out loud as they went. This is more Scooby-Doo in the surface level stuff of everyone has a distinct design and we're all like kids who are eager to learn. It's like this half of the series is Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And this is frickin' Funky Phantom, Captain Caveman, like all the Scooby-Doo like shows that came after it. The surface element is there, but the structure is gone.
So I mean,
I just compared Doctor Who to Scooby-Doo.
Well, I
hope it made sense.
I don't think it's that far. But I think
people get unmasked in this series as villains.
During a lot of this
I mean, literally in Leisure Hive, a human's head gets ripped off to reveal a big fat lizard underneath.
That's true.
Reverse Scooby-Doo.
But I think a lot of times in this series, you have to pause it and just go, right, what is going on?
Yeah.
I've lost track of what's happening. I don't like the way that they got rid of Romana. Well, not got rid of. Phased out Romana and K9. That was too quick. too random. At least she didn't fall in love with somebody and stay there.
Yeah, well, I love that, because the moment she and the guy she was going to go with, the Tharrell, you were like, they've not fallen in love, have they? And it's like, no, I think you were getting that vibe because he was sort of blown away by her kindness and the fact that she helped him and vice versa. So I think it was more admiration on his behalf. It wasn't just, they're in love now, bye, Doctor!
Yeah, like Leela. But I also don't like...
Also a Time Lord thing.
Yeah.
Romana leaves when she does because she doesn't want to go back to Gallifrey. Leela leaves when she does because apparently she's fallen in love on Gallifrey.
That was last series. No, that was last Doctor. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
it was 3 series ago.
I don't care anymore.
It was 3 series ago.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But I also don't
Logopolis is 3 finales... 3 whole finales after Invasion of Time.
I'll finish this thought at some point.
So I'm so sorry.
I don't like how they implemented the new companions. Jamie, I think him and Jamie kind of clicked together too quick. Not Jamie.
What the hell?
Adric. Sorry. I wish it were Jamie.
No offence to either Fraser Hines or Matthew Waterhouse, but Jamie and Adric are not the same character.
I know they're not the same.
My God.
Sort alright, soz. Do you know what's really funny? I was telling myself in my head, don't call him Jamie.
You
I know you want to call him
shamed
Jamie.
the House McCrimmon.
I'm sorry.
The Clan McCrimmon are very upset with you.
And then him and the Doctor, clicked amazingly. But the Doctor and Adric, I think, clicked too quickly. Like, they don't know anything about each other. Adric just, snuck on. And the Doctor's not even been like, how did you even do that? Because I feel like they could have, got to know each other a little bit of how sneaky it was for Adric to sneak on.
Yeah.
And they would have bonded over, talking about how they did that. But they've not. And they're just like, there you go, that's 2 people that apparently know each other really well and trust each other. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I think Nyssa was put in really randomly. It's really obvious that she was in that episode and they were like, oh, we like you, you can stay in.
Yeah. It's the fact that again it's the next story. It's similar with Lala Ward, obviously, we met her in the Armageddon Factor and then she's now Romana.
That was weird.
But at least in that there was a functional thing of there's a good 6 months between the stories.
And they set it up that she's choosing what kind of
appearance she wants and everything. But whereas in this it's just, oh yes, I got dropped off here. It would feel less awkward if we saw who had brought her there and the ship or whatever.
Or if they had gone to get her.
Well, no, because I can understand them arriving, because at least then it'd be kind of like, right, she wants the Doctor to help her, so they've gone to Logopolis so they can get his help.
Yeah.
Whereas it's just, I'm here too!
That's exactly what it feels like. And her and Adric have a thing together because they were figuring out how to destroy the...
Stop the Melkers plan.
Melker, that's
yeah.
But she's got hardly any connection with the Doctor. And, I mean... I forgot her name. The Australian one.
Oh, Tegan.
Tegan. That's completely out of nowhere. That's completely random.
And she scooped up by accident and then just seems to be going... Well, the thing is, logically, you wouldn't think she'd stick around now.
No.
Now that everything's happened, she'd be like, I need to go home. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
You're going to have to obviously watch the next story to find out why she sticks around.
That's fine.
But it is weird that, wait, this is happening now?
Yeah, having 2 new companions in a story where the Doctor is going to regenerate and leave, that doesn't work, I don't think. Because they looked sad when the Doctor was regenerating and dying, but in reality, they don't know him. And also, they don't know what regeneration is.
That is handled so much better in Peter's final story. Without going into too much detail for you, in Peter's final story, Davison, he regenerates with a character who he's only known for one story, and the way they write it, the way he dies, why he dies, etc., sets up so much better why that other character would then stick around. It sets it up brilliantly.
Yeah.
Because you're like, of course they would. After what he's done for them,
right? Of
course they would. They'd want to stick around to sort of help him. Whereas in this, I know what you mean. It's like,
just
here's the cast for next year, and here's Tom Back.
You know barely anything about them.
It almost detracts from Tom's
regeneration. Stick around for the next series.
It almost detracts from Tom's exit.
Yeah, it does. It does. It really does.
And watching that behind the scenes featurette, it does sort of make you think maybe they were just sort of like, right, we need to get rid of him. We need to get rid of him. because he says like every year he'd sort of sat down for the last 3 years and be like, I think maybe this is my last one. And they'd be like, no, let's try this, let's do this. And they'd all kind of convince him to stick around. And he said that they had the meeting for the series. He was like, I think this might be my last year. And everyone sort of went,
yeah, okay.
yeah, okay. Well, how do we work toward it then? And he was like, oh, okay. And he wasn't doing it to get that reaction. He was obviously kind of like just taken aback at, oh God, everyone else feels it too.
Yeah.
Like, it has changed. He got on with John Nathan Turner when John Nathan Turner was like the production assistant, because you've probably not spotted his name in the last few series, like in the credits.
Yeah.
He got along with him famously, and then once he took charge, Tom just didn't really agree.
He
so
just didn't agree on
I
things.
think, knowing the behind the scenes of it, I think this was the perfect time for him to go. Because I don't think he would have been happy.
I just wish it had been a better story. I mean, the way that he dies, between him and the Master, that's fine. I'm
super
all for
heroic
that.
as well.
That's
It's like
really
a great
good, yeah.
goodbye.
I've got no problem with that whatsoever, but it's the fact that
each of the Doctor's respective deaths so far have been the result of him taking part in a heroic action, a heroic act.
Yeah.
Like the first Doctor saves the day from the Cybermen, and during the story there's that hint, isn't there, that he's not well.
because he's like asleep, isn't he, for a lot of it.
So he fights through this thing that's hurting him to save the day, and then he's like, oh, balls. Ben, Polly, it's cold, wrap up warm, keep warm, bye. And then he goes to the TARDIS and collapses and regenerates.
Yeah.
Second Doctor goes down swinging on trial with the Time Lords, telling them that they're a load of bullshitters.
See an actual Sass McGrath,
and then being really picky about the fact that he's like, fine, I guess I'm being executed, but no, not him. He's too thin. No, he's too fat. No,
he's too old.
Too old. You're like,
Too
bloody
young.
hell. Like he's really not happy about it, and he's scared, but he's standing up to them. Because as well, at that point, the Time Lords have been set up as being terrifying.
Yeah.
And now we know that they're kind of like, maybe they were like that, but now they're just bureaucratic and stupid for the most part.
Yeah.
Third Doctor dies, like, correcting it. He makes a big mistake. He kickstarts the events that cause Planet of the Spiders, and he basically, like, atones for it by setting things right, returning the thing to Metabilis 3, and, like, he's facing his own mistake. And he dies facing his mistake and having corrected things and apologising, basically. It's like, yeah, good on you.
But he dies with his besties.
Yeah, he dies with his besties, and he dies with the dignity of sort of making everything right.
Yeah.
So the Fourth Doctor dies unplugging something that is going to cause the Master to have control over the universe, as though he's holding a stick of dynamite and it could blow up at any time.
He falls off a big dish.
And he falls and dies. Like, what he does is a risk, and he takes it, and he knows he's probably going to die. And after knowing what he knows of the cloister bell and this thing following him, he's like, this is how I die. Like, this is it. This is it for Tom now.
See, I don't feel like it is.
Canon going forward, he doesn't play the role again. Stop writing Big Finish in the comments. We're talking about the show. He doesn't play the role again. We see him play another incarnation of the Doctor, heavily implied to be, in the 50th anniversary. We see him in Dimensions in Time, but no one's counting that as canon, at the beginning. And we see him in the Five Doctors, but we see him in footage that you and I have already watched.
Yeah.
In Sharda. So this is it for Tom.
That's crazy.
How do you feel?
Christopher has it set up in the office, so the DVDs go across 4 shelves. And it's
pretty much classic, the Russell era of the modern show. And then the next one is the Moffat era, the Chibnall era, and all the spin-offs.
Yeah. And we're very nearly at the end of shelf 2. These are long shelves.
We are 3 DVDs from the end of shelf 2.
And that, as stupid as it sounds, that's put into perspective how much we've got through. And knowing that Tom was the longest serving Doctor has blown my mind, really. And we're going into, I keep saying this, but going into unknown territory now. You're
about to fly. Like, if we keep up at the pace we currently are, and I think we're going to, aren't we? We're going to keep going.
Yeah.
But if we keep at the pace we currently are, you guys are seeing these once a month. You're usually seeing the review about 2 months after we've filmed it.
Yeah.
If we keep going at the pace we're going, Peter's going to be a matter of a couple months.
That's
Colin's going to be
crazy.
a month and a bit. Sylvester's going to be a couple months. Chris is going to...
Colin's going to be a month and a bit?
Month and a bit.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Chris is going to be like... Paul's going to be one night. Chris is going to be like a couple week at most if we spread it out. You know,
If
like
we spread it out, which we probably won't.
Yeah, we'll probably carry on. We'll probably be thinking. People, I know people are wondering. We talked about this on Twitch. Like, how are you going to review the modern series? Because obviously, with this, we're doing a lot. We're talking a lot about a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
But also, ultimately, 7 stories.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to condense. Whereas the modern series, of course, like fluctuate between 10 and 13/14 episodes based on what you count in the series.
Yeah.
So with those, we're probably going to split them into halves. So
Okay.
like it'll be series 1, part A. You know, like series 1A, series 1B. So it'll be like like a Rose through to Dalek, and then Longane through to Part of the Ways, things like that.
Which,
and the Christmas specials.
I'm just going along for the ride.
The Christmas specials. How do you want to do the Christmas specials? Do you want to do them at the start of the series? Because they are in the box sets. They're always the first in a set. I think we do them separate.
Okay.
I think we'll do bonus videos between each season. So the Christmas specials and bonuses.
Videos.
Yeah,
that's fine with me.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Why not? By jingle. Because otherwise it'd be very, very long.
Yeah. Like this one.
Yeah. Overall, I liked season 18. I still think the last time we had a series where I was like, all of this is a winner, was like season 15.
Yeah.
Or most of it was a winner, like, you know, Invasion of Time, boring. But like, you know, sort of season 15, season 16 was the last time where I really enjoyed the full experience.
I miss Kroll.
Crawl. Crawl.
Kroll.
Crawl.
Kroll.
Yeah. Goodbye, Tom. You sweet summer prince.
Hello, Peter.
Goodbye, action figures that we can vary to represent which season, because not many enemies or playsets have been made of the upcoming seasons, so it's going to be a little difficult to distinguish them with toys on the
That
desk.
doesn't fill me with confidence, to be honest.
Well, there you go. But
Oh no!
there is one thing on this desk which will definitely be here in the next video we make. Because before we start season 19 and the beginning of the 5th Doctor's adventures, we will be watching, in another bonus video, K9 and Company, the first spin-off of Doctor Who.
Now I'm excited for this because I love K9. I love him so much.
My sweet summer child.
Oh no.
Bless you. What do you think of season 18? Let us know in the comments down below. Do you have the fancy Blu-ray box set? Good on you. Ta-ra! My dears!
Little